Andy, hello people, Sue Jerry speaking. World Crazy Bunch web shows number 118 on a Tuesday. I'm sorry that I couldn't make it to do it on Sunday, last Sunday, because I was busy calling people, which is unnecessary, but you know, we're back doing Crazy Bunch web show now. Let's do a dev topic. Let's do not one, not two, but 11 dev topics I'm going to do today, and then we'll do like 2 more personal news reports we're going to share with you all. So let's do it now, shall we? So we got for us. Let's start with Laurie Anderson. Born Laurie K. Anderson, she was an American actress. She was best known for playing receptionist Jennifer Morrow, something like that, in the CBS sitcom WKRP in Cincinnati, 1978 to 1982, which earned her a nomination for 3 Golden Globe Awards and 2 Emmy Awards. She was born in St. Paul, Minnesota on August 5th, 1945, the daughter of Karen Call Annie Anderson, and Andrew Simmons and Maxine Anthony Callis, something like that, a time model, something like that. She grew up in suburban Roseville, Minnesota, something like that. Anyway, as a senior in Alexander Ramsey Senior High School, something like that. Anyway, she was voted Queen of Valentine's Day winner former of 1963, something like that. Anyway, she was a say in her autobiography, in my life in high heels. Her father was given the name of her Riley for that, but he realized that when she got her teen years, it was likely twisted into Lenny, something like that. So it was changed to simply Loney. She had a sister, Andra. According to Anderson, that married his grandmother, Hazel Caitlin, something like that, was a school teacher who also managed to a preliminary Spiegel type dance hall, something like that. Her career began with this. Her acting career debut came in the hit part of the film Nevada Smith in 1966. Anyway, starring Steve McQueen. After that, she was mostly unemployed as an actress for nearly a decade. Then she received guest roles on television series in the mid-1970s. She appeared in 2 episodes of SWAT from the sitcoms Phyllis, and then on detective series Police Woman and Harry O, something like that. She auditioned the role of Christy in the sitcom Three's Company, but she did not win the role. In 1978, she guest starred on Susan Waters in season 2 episode. Wow. Anderson's most famous acting role came as a Shirley receptionist Jennifer Morrow on the sitcom WKRP in Cincinnati, 1978 until 1982. She offered the role of a producer, saw a poster of her in the red swimsuit, something like that. A post member to the Flowers famous 1976 poster, Hugh Wilson, sister career, later said Anderson, got the role because her body remains something like that. Jade Mansfield feels like that. And because she proposed an imminent, okay, I'm not gonna say the S word in this special episode. Anyway, Mary Role. For her role, she was nominated for 3 Golden Globe Awards and 2 Emmy Awards. Although the series celebrated Nelson Reigns, Moses' 4-year run, it had a strong following among teens, young adults, and disc jockeys, owing to her rising popularity as her series' so-called main attraction. Anderson walked out of the sitcom during 1980's summer hiatus, requesting a salary increase. While she was recognized her contract, she starred in the television film The Jane Mansfield Story in 1980, which the network agreed to her request. She returned to the series and maintained its cancellation in 1982. Wow. Aside from her acting career, Anderson became known for her colorful personal life, but eventually her relationship with marriage to actor Burt Reynolds, something like that. Starring in the comedy film Struggle Ace in 1983. Wow, okay. With a critical box office failure. She later appeared herself in the romantic comedy The Lonely Guy in 1984, starring Steve Martin. She voiced Flo in the Coral in the animated film All Dogs Go to Heaven in 1989. In the mid-19 to late 1980s, Anderson was teamed with Wonder Woman actress Linda Carr in the television series The Partners in Club 1984. Okay, in the same year that Lonely Guy came out. Anyway, Anderson later starred in the short-lived comedy series Easy Street from 1986 to 1987. She also appeared in the series television adaptation of classic Hollywood films such as Lair and the Free Wives in 1985 with Michelle Lee, starring Roll Number in 1989, both of which received real attention. Also starring Coins in the File in 1990, as received commercial praise for her portrayal of comedian actress Thelma Todd in the television movie White Hot and the series Spielberg and Thelma Todd in 1981. Wow. In the early 1990s, she attempted to co-star with her husband, Burt Reynolds, in the sitcom Evening Shade, but the network does not follow the idea of replace her with Merle Hair. Wow. And after Daryl Mark Brooke was spotted in the sitcom Designing Woman in 1991, producer offered Anderson the role of Brooke's replacement. However, the network bailed at Brooke Anderson's showing protect the domains, my dad. She agreed to return as Deborah Moreau in 2 episodes on the new WKRP in Cincinnati, sequel to the original series. In 1993, she appeared. She was added in the first season in the sitcom Nurses, playing hospital administrator Casey McAfee. Her biography, like My Life in High Heels, was published in the year I was born, 1995. Growing up with parents who had smoked, as witnessed the effects of COPD, or coagulous ulcerative Palmer's disease for short. A low disease often caused by smoking. In 1999, she became a spokesperson for the COPD support organization named COPD Together. In April 2018, as we see promoting WKRP in Cincinnati and other television series on the MeTV television network. But less current since the start of the 21st century, something like that. As we continue to act on television series, and played a lead role in 2016-2020's web series, My Sister's So Gay. Wow. In October 2023, it was announced that Anderson would feature in the Lifetime film Raised in the 80s, A Diva's Christmas. And according to Mitchell Seminus, the movie follows the 5 soap opera divas, ready for a reunion show that takes on the play Cupid during Christmas to bring together their director and producer as they all learn the meaning of the true Christmas spirit. The original cast was made up of Anderson, Linda Gray, Morgan Fairchild, Don Mills, Nicola Sheridan. Personal life and death. Anderson was married 4 times. Anderson developer in Bruce Harrisburg in 1964, 1966, something like that. Anyway, after Rose lost Bigfoot Bickle, 1974, 1981. After Burt Reynolds, 1988 to 1994. Musician Bob Fleck, in 2018 to her death. 2008 to her death, something like that. Fleck, a founding member of the folks band The Brothers Four, first met Anderson at the movie premiere in Minneapolis in 1963. She had a knowledge affair with her WKRP in Cincinnati co-star Gary Sandy near the end of their marriage with Bickle. Wow. Wow. Anderson has 2 children, a daughter, Dara, followed by Annenberg, and son, Quinn, adopted by Rick Reynolds. She had 4 grandchildren for her 2 children. She died of prodigal illness on August 1st, 2025. She was 39 years old. The next step top is to Jay Morgan, born Florence Caffrey Kohler. She was known professionally as Jay Morgan. She was an American singer and recording artist of traditional pop, which I'm not into, sorry. Morgan initially found success in France and the United Kingdom. Wow, okay. Before achieving recognition in the United States, receiving 6 gold awards, okay? Gold records, my dad. Anyway, she was Fragrant nightclub and Broadway performer, and has also appeared numerous times in American television, both as a singer and as a dramatic performer. She was born in Newton, Massachusetts on May 3rd, 1924. Four 5 children to born musicians Olga Brunberg and Barbara Trier. At 5, she would begin vocal lessons while continuing piano lessons. During the summers, she took on child roles and appeared in theater productions. In the Carenburg parts of that playhouse in Carenburg, Maine, where Robert Kerr participated. Wow. In 1941, she listed as treasurer of the Carenburg Playhouse. After graduating from Seabreeze High School, she was accepted in New York Garber School of Music, okay? That's a lot of reading to do. Anyway, attended to become an opera singer. She studied opera by day and performed whenever possible. Her career began with this. Morgan State popular songs, okay? In nightclubs and small restaurants. The bar mistress and other private parties, she helped pay her attention expenses at Joe orchestra leader Art Moody. Changed her name to J. Morgan, something like that. But taking the first name of one of the first vocalists, J. Ford. But the last name of another, Marion Morgan. In 1948, French Brecho Bernard Harriet, something like that. She led her to accompany him to Paris. Morgan became a sensation in Paris. Many French songwriters, including Charles Trenet, featured by the club, and they wrote several songs that become hit recordings for Morgan. Morgan Hilla soon opened a new weekly all-around television show. She began recording in 1949. And French party label as well as party performers with that, Phillips and others. She recorded returned to Europe in 1954 with that to appear in London West End Review with comedian Vic Oliver, some of that. Later the Savvy Fear and London Podiums and that. Anyway, American success, anyway. Morgan, okay, never mind. Later, agent began singing at Little Waters Land Corps in New York, something like that. Anyway. Laura kept Morgan in the Land Corps for a year. She, when she was noticed by Dave Cap, who was recently founded a new recording label, Cap Records, something like that. Cap signed Morgan to a new contract near the same period he had signed the pianist Roger Williams, something like that. Counter reception is French singer. Cap had Morgan recording Baseball. Her first album released at the top Marigold for Paris. She recorded several additional albums and soon was paired with Williams, who have gained national attention, except for this recording of Autumn Leaves, which I hated albums of that. Anyway, they recorded 2 different worlds, which gave Morgan and her first Soviet airplane to U.S. radio. In 1957, Cap brought the Troubadours, a very unknown group by musicians, to a studio. They have appeared on Love with Attention, Love the Afternoon, something like that. Cap asked Morgan to join the Troubadours to sing Fire Nation, something like that. A vote written in 1904 by F.D. Anyway, it's Vaz Balsam. Get out for the last the title's name. So days when anyway. So it's modified in Paris is the Voice Birds Race with that. The strip number. With the English lyrics added by Dick Manning in 1942. It was been played throughout the 1957 movie. The French lyrics had been created in 1942. Her recording was released in the 1957, late 1957, something like that. Anyway, it remained in the charts for 29 weeks. In 1958, Cap released the day that rains came. A French song by Gilbert Regard, I call it. Lee George La Pushy happy that was his last word part of the French word, sorry. Anyway, with Morgan singing English on one side, and it was French in the other. It reached number 1 in the UK singing singles chart in early 1959. She was the feature of the November 10th, 1959 jazz special, Timex All-Star Jazz number 3. In the middle years, she performed in musicals and won on stage at Broadway. She appeared some of that. She appeared in Cat, King and I, Kiss Me, Kate, Gentleman, Prefer Blonde, some of that. Bells Are Ringing, Anniversary Walls, Affairs on State, Hello Dolly, and others. Her agent died in 1959, and her new manager for that, Jerry Woodburn, was able to offer attending bookings for many noted U.S. venues. Morgan divorced Larry Serf in 1964, and married Webtrop more than a decade its junior in 1965. The couple later adopted 3 daughters. Morgan also had a stepson, Michael, from Webstrop's first marriage. Michael Webstrop separated in the 80s, but never divorced. Webstrop died in 2015. In 1960, she recorded the English language version of the Italian song Romagia. Her later years began with started with this, okay? After Morgan, hang on. I can't read that, hang on. After Morgan, never mind. After Morgan performed on Broadway, she said, being on Broadway was one of the most exciting things to happen in my life because I have always dreamed of it. Morgan's 2 follow albums were for RCA Records. The last LP, J. Morgan Nashville, yielded 2 moderate hits on the country music charts. According to the Johnny Cash's song, a boy named Sue, titled A Girl Named Johnny Cash, written by comic Mo. She performed the song on Cash's initial television series in early 1971. Anyway, however, only over time, Morgan had recorded without virtual formal arrangements with our hit single, Foundation. No less, she was reportedly dubbed the country girl in Nashville by the crew. She retired to perform in 1973, but apparently naturally over the years at the special events and benefits. She worked as a production assistant for her husband, producer Jerry Winstrop, on films such as the remake of Ocean's 11. On December 10th, 2009, Morgan appeared on the UNICEF ball on her husband with Jerry Winstrop, held in the Beverly Wilshire Hotel. Singing to Said Chance Dance, Bed Spencer, known as Jane Winstrop, for that. She divides her time between Malibu, California, Palm Springs, California, and Kennebunk, Maine. She owned Blueberry Hill Spa in Bonneville, Maine from 1958 at the time frame. One's collection of unique performances, gowns spanning from the 1950s to the 1980s, were exhibited public for the first time. Premiering at the Break Store Museum in Kmart Bank, May, February 2022. She celebrated her 100th birthday on May 3rd, 2024. She died at home in Naples, Florida on August 4th, 2025. She was 101 years old. No associates. She performed French President Charles D. Gaulle for 5 U.S. presidents: John F. Kennedy, Richard Nixon, Gerald Ford, Jimmy Carter, and George W. Bush. She toured with Jack Benny and John Wright. Appeared at the Grand Ole Opry. 2 of her RCA record singles hit with the Billboard charts in 1970. Television appearances, okay? This will be the only thing yet, and then we'll go to the next step topic. Okay, bye. Come on, move. Anyways, Moore made her U.S. television debut in Celebrity Time 1951. Her early television credits include The Richard Board Show, The College Comedy Hour, The College of Stars, The Jack Benny Program, The Jimmy Dean Show, which is, well, by the way, who just made an appearance from Jim Henson, by the way, Johnny Weber Show, The Mike W Show, Hollywood Palace, as well as made more than 50 appearances on The Ed Sullivan Show. Wow. Morgan appeared in such television appearance specials as Holly and Melody in 1961, Bell Television Hour, Trip to Christmas 1961, the same year. Anyway, the Bell Television Hour, Christmas Program 1965, Bell Television Hour, Masterpiece Music 1966, Classroom 1967, Crowd Music Hall, Broadway's Best 1969, Operation Entertainment in the same year. She starred in 3 of the home television specials. Jane Morgan Hour 1959. Voice of Firestone, and even appears in the same year, 1959, The Jane Morgan Show in 1968, and made several dramatic television appearances, including The Web, Rehearsal for Death in 1952, Pure Gun Down the Drain in 1961, and Takes a Theme, Susie Simon Caper in 1970. Morgan's version of If I Only Could Live My Life Again was featured during the closing credits of the second version season finale of Apple TV's The Morning Show, was released on November 19th, 2021. In May 6th, 2011, Morgan received the 2,439th star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. The next step topic has to do with Terry Reid. Born Terrence James Reid, who was nicknamed Superlongs. He was an English musician, songwriter, and guitarist. Best known for his anonymous style of synth-signing appearances with high-profile musicians and vocalists, supporting that and session musician. So solo recording tour artist, and he released 6 studio albums and 4 live performances, something like that. Despite his artist by Rolling Stone, Reid was recognized as a commodity, some of that as an eminent talent in English rock music, both as a guitarist and vocalist. Robert Plant plays his vocal flexibility, power, and control. Graham Nash was quoted saying he should have been a gigantic star. Reid's music career began in the early 1960s, while performing in the local British club, and he was invited to join Peter Gang of Jaywalkers, his lead vocalist, and opened for the Rolling Stones in their 1966 tour. In the later 60s, Reid was supporting that for the Rolling Stones, Cream, Gerald Toll. If you watch the remix by Gerald Toll for you, Feel Like the Dead Duck, yeah, and Feeling Back tours. He turned down offers to Jimmy Page to be a lead vocalist on the band that became Led Zeppelin, and from Ricky Blackmore to front Deep Purple. Well, that was okay, bits and pieces. But he was born in 1949 of November 13th in Paxton Park Mandatory Home in Little Paxton, St. North's, Hampshire, England. The only child, Walter Breed, a salesman of cars, and also equipment Grace. He lived in the Defense Village, Boston, and attended St. Alo's School, some of that, St. Ives. He listened to classical music, which I know was born, classical folk and jazz. He was inspired by the sound of American R&B and soul singers such as Otis Reed and Marvin Gaye, some of that. He bought his first guitar at the age of 10. He formed his first group, Red Beats, at the age of 13. They played the village halls and youth clubs. The other band's members were in late teens. At 14, he wrote his first song, Without Inspiration, with Crosby, Stills, Nash, and Young. Wow. Later recorded. His father was supportive and persuaded his mother to allow him to pursue music as a career instead of picking up potatoes in the bloody field drawing gigs and bought guitars that would accomplish him to start tours. In the 60s, his career began in the 60s when, after leaving school at the age of 15, Reed joined Peter Gang and the Jaywalkers after being inspired by the band's drummer Peter J. Wow. At the time, Reed was playing the local band, the Red Beats. The original performed at the Rivers Club at St. Ives. In 1956, the Jaywalkers were named in the support act for the Rolling Stones with the 23-show British tour from September to October 1986. With that, and the concert with the Royal Graham Nash in the Hollies became friends with Reed and suggested the Jaywalkers sign up with UK Columbia Records, and the EMI label, to record the producer John Burgess. The first single was the soul inspired the hand drew Don't Feel Fit the Grave to go up from that. It's a major minor hit in 1957. But that by then the Jaywalkers is disbanded. Reed come up to the attention of producer Mickey Mose, who had become his manager and who was in partnership with Peter Grant at the time. His first single was Mose. Peter Blair by far became the radio favorite. His debut album, Bang Bang, Your Terry Reid, was released in 1968, and with comedy musician Eric Rees on the organ and Keith Rapp on drums. In 1988 tour of the United States with Cream did much give Gay Reed a warm following. His final performance of the tour at the Miami Pop Festival received positive reviews from the music press. The song "My Inspiration" with Bang Bang, Your Terry Reid, was written by Reed at the age of 14. Later recorded from under the different titles. The Hollies released it as The Man with No Inspiration in 1988. Crosby, Stills, Nash, and Young recorded the Horses Through a Rainstorm in 1989 with Graham Nash once again singing lead. And REO Speedwagon covered 1973 as Without Inspiration, Don't Be a Man. John Mellencamp also included on this Greatest Hits album, The Best I Can Do, 1988 to 1988. Horse Blue Rainstorm, that slated to appear on Deja Vu before being replaced in the last minute of Stephen Stills' Carry On. Both versions were not released until years later. Wow. Now, rejecting Led Zeppelin Deep Purple, Yardsburg guitarist Jimmy Page, managed by Peter Grant, became interested in Reed's work. When the Yardbirds were disbanded, Page wanted Reed to fill in the vocalist on the spot from his most new group, the New Yardbirds, but later became Led Zeppelin. Lee had already committed to go on the road for 2 tours. The Rolling Stones already, and another with Cream, on the 1988 U.S. tour. Reed suggested to Page they was compressing against his fees and who would lose. And Page would call Keith Richards to explain why Reed had to pull out on the U.S. tours. Reed was trying to get things out of Page. It never happened. And Reed told Page that to consider a young Birmingham-based singer Robert Platt. Had previously seen Platt's band join the support act, and it's one of his concerts ever. Reed had suggested that Page should check the drummer John Bonham. Anyway, the late John Bonham, that is. Anyway, Reed has also rejected offers of Richie Blackmore to replace departed singer Ron Edwards in Deep Purple. He said the music was too mellow. Wow, it was not really his style. When questioned by music journalists about his passing up to beat Led Zeppelin Deep Purple, Reed said he did not reject his decision and was satisfied with his new own career. He was reported in 2019 as saying, "I don't sit around going over the old coals." 1969 to 1970s. In 1969, Reed played support on British tours, knowing the Jumper Toll, say like the Dead Duck, if you watch it, make up. Fleetwood Mac. Reed slowly and Webb toured the U.S. Again with the opening for Rolling Stones on their 1969 American tour. Reed did not appear at the Rolling Stones concert on Music Festival. Also in the same year, 1969, he released his second studio album, simply titled Terry Reed, which was spent 5 weeks on the Billboard Top LPs charts. Friends, a song for this album, first appeared in the series with a version of Highway 61 Revisited. Friends was later covered by Arrival. It's become a UK top 10 hit from the film in January 1970. In December 1969, Red fell out with producer Mickey Mouse, who was wanting him to become a balladeer from Mouse on Formula. Before this, Reed was toured extensively in major venues in the United States, including 2 tours with the Rolling Stones and another with Cream. A contract dispute with Moss enabled to record at least his music for 4 years. Reed considered a rival work, mostly U.S., while also waiting the outcome of the realization. He lived at the beach, Sac, the hills in California, and made responsible UK performances for that period. In 1970, he returned briefly to England to perform at Isle of Wight Festival with bass player Lee Miles, a former member of the Ike and Tina Turner's band, whose Reed met while touring the United States with the Stones. David Leslie and Tim Davis. He took part in the second Atlanta International Pop Festival of 1999. When closed the first Glastonbury Perry in 1970, it was filmed performing at Glastonbury in 1971. He performed Mick and Basher Gallagher's wedding and St. Travis in 1971 in front of the Beatles, David Bowie, and Richard Barrett. Reed's foundation with Brazilian music and rhymes began in 1989 when Garbage Gill and Joshua Zaz was assailed by the military dealership in Brazil. Reed's was already arranged with Gill to come to London. He stayed at Reed's apartment in Notting Hill, with a group of Brazilian musicians. Slept with his force with that. Anyway. With Reed performing the Isle of Wight Festival on August 27th, Bill Gill and played on the same bill that night. The same year, let's forget. There we go. The same year, Reed was signed by Orange Garden to Atlantic Records with that. Anyway, was band considered of David Ramsey, Willie Miles, and Al White. They began recording the anyway, they began recording United Kingdom and later switched to the United States with that. While left to join Yes, and Leslie left to tour with Jackson Brown. Lee Brown Miles remained in college Reed to White left to join Yes when they were. Leslie left to tour with Jackson Brown. Lee Miles remained in college Reed in his music career for many years afterwards. Anyways, the recording made during this period performed Reed's third album, River, a jazzy moody album. While combined American groove, soul, funk, and rock. The musicians on the album include Carly Ardor on drums and Willie Boyle on percussion. Produced by Reed, engineered by Tom Dawn, mixed by A. Offers with that. Rivers released in 1973, received favorable reviews, but failed commercially. The main of the material from these sessions was released in 2016, The Other Side of the River. Around the time of River's release, relocated the United Kingdom to United Kingdom to California. So my God. Lived in the next 3 years, and then commercially in the desert, miles north of Los Angeles, something like that. Anyway, 180 acres of land owned by Bob Dylan, who he wrote in his next album. Over the next decade, Reed switched from different labels in search of the winning formula. His fourth album, See the Memory, a spotlight effort piece of music, was released by ABC Records in 1976. Produced by Graham Nash, ABC Records filed for bankruptcy the week the album was released, which deterred sales. The next step for the album would entail Large Waves, produced by Chris Grammy of Capitol Records, released in 1979. For Large Waves, Reed Miles on bass, Doug Rodriguez on lead guitar, and John Sermon on drums, recorded at Brother Studio in San Maria, California. 1980s, 1990s, but that era. Ray's retained soul career in 1981, concentrated on session work, appeared on albums by Don Henley, Johnson Brown, and Bonnie Wright. In 1991, he returned to producer Tyler Horn for the WEA album, The Drivers, my dad. Anyway, the album featured a version of Give Me Some Lovin', which also appeared on the soundtrack of Tom Cruise movie, Days of Thunder. Reed looked back at The Driver favorably, said it was unlistenable. In the 90s, he followed Bill Cosby Ballad of His Stars. Wow. He toured the U.S. and Hong Kong with Mick Taylor. Rich Kid Blues appeared on the album released by Marine Faithful, produced by Mike Leonard in 1984, but unreleased in the 14 years. Reed and several friends put together the garage group in March 1993, called himself The Flu, and members included Reed, Joe Walsh, Nippy Hawkins, Rick Rosas, and Phil Jones. Played one show at College House in St. John's, Commercial, California. This is now Nicky Hawkins' last public performance before his death. In 1998, Reed recorded In Love and War for the final episode of Colin an Adventure TV series scored by Charles Fox. Anyway, 2000 to 2025. Anyway, in late 2022, late 2002, something like that, Reed returned to the United Kingdom with one-time bass player Reed Miles for 3 shows on WOMAD Festival near Reedness, with his first live appearance in years. Reed has previously had Monday night residency performing at the bar, Berry Hills, California, which attracted the attention of WOMAD organizers anyway. Thomas Brewman, who invited him to perform at the festival in 2002. 2005, he returned to the United Kingdom tour with London shows in the 100 Club, the Ronnie Scott's Jazz Club, venue Birmingham, the Man in Hell of the Story to Tell. Anyways, for appearances at festivals, his London shows were Reed was used as a full band. Venues played include the Jazz Cafe, the Barlight, the 100 Club, the Digwell, some of that. He was invited to return to Ronnie Scott's Jazz Club in 2009 for a week. Reed has been since there for several years after. 2012, his album Live in London featured an entire set of one of his gigs with Ronnie Scott's and releases for no remixes and overdub, something there. Reed appeared on the Glastonbury Festival several times, as well as other UK festivals, including the Isle of Wight, Secret Garden twice, Britain's Festival twice, and all Tomorrow's Parties. During this period, EMI released a box set of his first 2 albums, which included all the sessions he had recorded for the band between 1966 and 1970. The collection was titled Super Logs, Sea of Money, River, become available on CD. They were reissued in the 2000s, something like that. For a new interest of Reed's music, Reed's also released a new live album, Alive, officially published in Sanctuary Records in 2004. But anyway. This time, Reed began his registry a joint in Los Angeles, which featured performances from him every Monday for 4 years. Others with new Reed joined him in the Freeze concerts, including Robert Plant, Keith Richards, Bobby Warbach, Roger Daughtry, and Eric Burdon. Some of that. Anyway, Reed saw Dean from the album River. I can't scroll down, but it's not gonna let me, anyway. It's not gonna, come on, move, anyway. There we go. Yeah, there we go. Well, in the it was used in the feature film, The Choreographer, something like that. It produced in 1999 and released in 2001. Anyway, Reed became good friends with film producer Chris Johnson, who also became Reed's business advisor. Johnson produced Reed to return to live work, something like that, in the United States in the early 2000s, and was in charge of arranging UK tours, registering players to Reed's band, arranging collaboration of artists, organizing back catalog releases, writing songs for films, writing acting roles. Previous Reed songs see a memory to be treated right and Brave Awakening for featured in 2005 film anyway. The Devil Rejects, directed by Rob Zombie, Reed's music in 2019 sequel, Free from Hell, 2005 film, raised great game of play, Reed as the cameo as the golf caddy. His song Faithful to Arrive, something like that, was featured in the 2003 film Wonderland. In the 2017 film, The Win It All. His song Be Yourself was featured, which he wrote for Graham Nash's Song Believers, was appeared in the film Up in the Air, directed by Jason Reitman. Okay. In 2007, Reed began touring with American band American Cars Doris, like that. Supporting him to shows 2008, 2014, 2016. Vince became his regular band. It was described by Washington Post. He also performed with Los Angeles-based music collective Wild Honey. In 2009, Reed worked with French Trip Hop, which I'm not a huge fan of, by the way, at Shine. He spent a week for Paris, recording several tracks and guest vocalists like that. Shine featuring Terry Reed, which released an EP in that November 2012. Reed provided vocals for the song "Listen" by DJ Shaw, a bonus track with the collaboration about considered the best of DJ Shaw. Around this time, Reed worked on the solo out other collaborations that in 2025 remain on lease. Rap producer Dr. Dre reportedly that became affiliated with Reed's 1966 album WC in Memory. To collaborate reworking the album with collaborators with the other rappers affiliated with Dr. Dre. Okay? Reeds were also made guest appearances and vocalists with British band Alabama Free. Because these series are not being yet released. Reeds continued to perform in later years, appeared on the stage in 2019 for Africa Express, The Circus, a concert contributed by David Harmon. He played his final live show in Half Moon, probably London, October 7th, 2024. It's band at the time, including Daisel Martin at guitar, Jennifer Merriam at bass, Chris Harmon on film, steel, and Paul Jones as drums. By June 2025, he was suffering from cancer and had to cancel a 2025 tour because of medical issues arising from his treatment. Personal life, illness, and death. He has 2 daughters, Kelly Holly, for his first marriage with his wife, Lynn, in the 1970s. Reed's daughter was the subject of the country battle in the 1990s. By 1976, Reed was married to Susan Johnson. By a couple of divorced in 1982, and Reed again remarried in 2004 to Annette Gray, something like that. He was resident of Wild Colony, California, and Palm Desert, California by 2016. Later in life, Ray has issues with chain smoking and alcohol. They quit smoking and heavy drinking in 2016. Following time in the hospital. He was diagnosed with cancer in June 2025. This was announced in July 2025. With fellow musician Angie Murray covering his medical expenses. On the GoFundMe page, writing about Terry was never asked for that himself. This himself. Oh my God. This is why we're asking for him. He died of cancer in Washington, Mary, California on August 4, 2025. He was 75 years old. His death was announced by the day after. The next topic has to do with James Whale. Anyway. Born as Michael James Whale, he was a British radio personality, television presenter, and podcaster. Beginning additional appearances in the 1980s as a host of James Whale radio show. In radio area reads was telecast on national television. From 1995 and 2008, he hosted a nighttime radio show on Talk Sport, followed by stints of LBC 97.3 and Sarah's BBC radio stations. Whale was the host of podcast James Whale Show in the nighttime weekly radio show on Talk Radio. He was also best known for being a presenter with the comedy show Outspoken. In 2008, he was suspended by TalkSport for arguing listeners to vote for Boris Johnson. Wow. In the upcoming London mayoral election. In 2018, he was suspended by Talk Radio again, pending this time pending investigation appearing with Luther Gas. The journalist Nikki Hawson was speaking on air about her experience of I'm not gonna say this word, sorry. Anyway, he was later restated. Wow. In 2024, he was awarded MBE for services of broadcasting charity. Born May 13th, 1951, Early Surrey, into an ordinary middle-class family. His English father David worked with the family business S&R Whale, who was made dresses, aprons, and overalls in the factory of bricks in London. His Welsh mother, Anne Price, was a professional ballet dancer. His parents later owned the Green Man Pub in Arrow. Wow. Okay. Whale has a younger brother, Keith, who also did not enjoy school life. After failing his 11 plus exam, he attended London's Lane Military Submarine School, Montalia Secondary Boys School, both in Ashbourne, England, something like that. Anyway. At the age of 14-16, Whale took operating and became a Surrey junior champion. He located the Charing Cross area in London, where his parents ran a pub. He wanted to become an actor, but his mother advised him to get a pubber job. Wow. Among Whale's first jobs was a trade buyer for Harrods. In this job, he became in contract with a DJ who referred him to becoming one soon after, signing Tony Blackburn, Johnny Walker, and Kid Kenson, something like that. It's among his favorites. After leaving the Wendy's, was open to shave disco, something like that. Whale to the DJ, train, jewel cores, and lands the first gate to Bird's Nest and Marswell Hill, something like that. North London. He found expensive dough, but realized he had the ability to introduce records and work with the Larry's venue in Sweden for several months. Upon recording, returned home, Wales resumed DJ work, took in acting lessons, and worked with rap, but earned little money. Wow, okay. His career began in the 70s, where his early career in ITV television show began with this. He began his broadcasting career in 1970, where he visited the top show store in Regent Street, London. He spoke to manager Ralph Albert who identified declined to hire a DJ for the store. After which he worked as an assistant stage manager at the theatre in Oxford, England. Wells was soon invited back to Top Shop and accepted to work on one of the largest DJs from way of Top Shop in-house radio station. In 1974, he became the host of the evening talk show radio show Major Radio, something like that. Anyway, so in North East England, the studios in Southwell, Gateshead, something like that. He was first presented the successful Night Owls programming, which he continued hosting until early 80s. During this time period, West took up initial work as an actor, playing roles in Z-Cars. He ran with the BBC Radio Derby to host and running phone-in, working with Jerry Christen, who later became a colleague at TalkSport. In 1982, Will joined the Radio Early in Leeds to host a late-night talk show. By 1986, he was The Breakfast Show, before returning to the late-night show in early 1987. But anyway, in the late 80s, something like that, Wells became influenced by American radio hosts, including shock jock Howard Stern, something like that. He changed his style, having become tired of his lovely phone-ins, and that he was becoming comments to. Commencements to on the Friday night of September 24th, 1998. The 1 a.m. start time, like in international at Saturday morning. Wales radio shows, at Radio Army with simulcast and with Yorkshire Television, saw the Rick Jones James Whale radio show, featuring live studio guests, music and listener phone calls. The show became a ratings success in less than 7 months, something like that. It started to air nationally on ITV, and conservative MP Jerry Hayes, something like that. Anyway, had a regular slot in the show when Steve Colgan also made regular appearances. By September 1989, the show attracted over 1 million viewers. It cost the television station £15,000 to run each hour. In January 1993, which Whale began a new ITV series, Whale On. Well, okay. I'm sorry that I was running too slow on dev topics, but I have to do this. But anyway, come right back. Stand by. I'm back, folks. Sorry about that. I just checked my I gotta eat my lunch and things like that. Let's get back to the show right now. So shall we? So we got for us. 1995, 2008. Talk radio, talk sports. He was known as a presenter who was controversial and outspoken. In 2008, at TalkSport, he was suspended for arguing listeners to vote for Boris Johnson with that in the London mayor election. Excuse me. Will eventually tired the proposed legal case against TalkSport for withdrawing legal action. The media regular then said TalkSport has broken the code on endorsements with that. New perjuries with that. Said the breach was so serious that it concerned whether the proposed acceleration of stations with that. Anyway, we could have been included a fine. Wow. 2008 to 2013, LBC. On May 7, 2008, Will said he would be joined on Bid TV. He continued to broadcast at jameswellradio.co.uk. On May 20th, 2008, Wilson began a 4-hour weekly evening phone-in on air radio station Play Radio UK. However, on September 2nd, 2008, he said on air he was playing Play Radio for book promotion and TV work, something like that. And December, Clive Ball on WBC 97.3 for 6 days in August 2008. Will covered Nick Abbott for 2 weeks from September 29, 2008 at WBC. In November that same year, he would begin presenting the Drive Time show on WBC between 4 p.m. and 7 p.m. every weekday. 2013-2016, various projects, okay? I believe in WBC 97.3, well-presented hit shows on BBC Radio Berkshire, BBC Radio, Callie's Radio, Country's Radio, something like that, BBC Radio WM, additional BBC Radio Kent, and then the new online format. And this 1989 TV show Wales Weekly. In September 2013, Whale Lodge's weekly broadcast is the James Whale Radio Show, something like that. Anyways, which is produced by Rod Oldfield, something like that. The podcast ran for 300 original episodes. The December 13th, 2013, Whale announced it would be a new permanent presenter on BBC XX broadcast programming. He presented his last show on station on September 23rd, 2016. On July 28th, 2016, Whale entered the Central Saudi Big Brother house to compete on Housemate in his 18th series. He was the sixth to be evicted, coming 9th overall. 2016-2025, Talk Radio, Talk TV. Whale began covering shows on Talk Radio on October 26, 2016, something like that. Started presenting Monday through Thursday evening shows between 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. from November 6, 2016. On August 1st, 2018, Will was suspended again by Talk Radio, pending the elimination after an interview with the author and journalist Nikki Oxis, with that. Who had been, I'm not gonna say it, sorry. Anyway, who in a statement, Talk Radio said Whale's interview with Hodgson completely sustainably, with that. Who was conducted in a manner that did not reflect the values of the station. In the video clip of the interview was later deleted. Whale was seen shaking his head, allowing the interviewee described what happened to her. Whale returned to work in the station 10 days later on August 13th. He presented James Whale Unleashed on Talk TV and Talk Radio. Personal life and death. In 1971, Whale married Linda Maxted. They have two sons. In February 2018, Whale announced that Maxted had been diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer. She died on May 12, 2018. On May 13, 2021, his 70th birthday, Whale announced his engagement on Twitter, but did not reveal his fiance's identity. On October of that year, Whale married Matney Wilmette Brown at the ceremony at Kent. Whale often spoken about this arrangement like that. He was appointed a member of the Order of the British Empire, MBE for short, in the 2024 New Year Honors, preserving the broadcasting charity. In February 2000, Whale was diagnosed with kidney cancer. He did not experience any symptoms until he was known as blood in his organ, caused by a large tumor in his left kidney. He underwent an operation when he had a 50% chance of survival. Chose not to have a surgery afterwards. In 2006, he launched a James White Fund for Kidney Failure to fund research and raise awareness of the disease. The fund came Kidney Cancer UK 2016. In August 2020, Whale said his cancer has spread to his spine, brain, and lungs. In 2024, Whale posted an online video encouraging people to get blood tests for cancer. He died of cancer on August 4th, 2025. He was 74 years old. The next topic has to do with Leonard Lapointe, when that. Born that name, he was an American radio personality. He was a host of radio talk show Bernard Lapointe Lodge, broadcast on WBAI, and on one-time host of public radio talk show Bernard Lapointe Show, broadcast on WNYC. His first broadcast on KLCR, for that, the college radio station up from Columbia University, and then later on WBAI before the move to NYC. Born in Brooklyn, New York on September 23rd, 1940, the Jewish parents. Fran Brazil, who was from a middle-class industry family in Brookline, and Albert Lepine, whose mother tongue was Yiddish, and it was an Amish writer's mother. His parents ran a candy store together, had a tumultuous marriage. He was raised in the Valley Poetry in Thomas in Williamsburg. As a teenager, he joined the local Amish Jewish choir. He graduated from Eastern District High School. He studied at Pratt Institute in Brooklyn, and then art school in London. In 1967, he graduated with a Bachelor's of Arts degree at Booker College. He then undertook postgraduate work at Hiring College, like that. When he trained as a painter, he studied at Red Heart and Mark Russell, working in the advertising 15 years. His career began with this, okay? Walpole came in the radio personality late life. And he was given the chance to host the first talk show in WBAI in 1977. What began as a whim became a life work. His longest running program at WBAI was Raw Midnight, a weekly late night show with featured interviews with free-form discussion on a variety of topics with listeners who called in the station. The show ran through the mid-1980s, and with Report Room in the WNYC FM, hosted a midday talk show with radio veteran pre-game first go-ons with that. His sports gradually involved in the Bernard Report show. He also appeared regularly at the 92nd Street at Y, where he interviewed celebrities and moderated his panel series comparing notes like that. He also appeared in the similar capacity at the Brooklyn Academy of Music like that, Queens College, Brooklyn College, the New York Public Library, the Brooklyn Public Library, the Islands Francis like that, the New School. He also created a series of discussions of literature for the Writers' Organization, PAN International. The Bernard Report show began with this. He aired at WNYC from noon to 2 p.m. every weekday until December 2017. Several of the shows are also available on podcasts and found on iTunes and on the station's website. The show's people award-winning format were typically considered the 4 interviews ranging from 20 to 40 minutes in length and covering a broad range of topics including current events, history, literature, the arts, including jazz and gospel music. Okay. Food, wine. He won 3 Game Bars Awards. Science. Guests were often interviewed to accompany a book release. Report interviewed politicians, poets, painters, novelists, filmmakers. Hello. Anyways, actors, dancers, and more than a few Nobel and Pulitzer Prize winners. He probably interviewed actors, playwrights, producers to talk about the current NYC theater productions. He also introduced 2 ongoing features to the program. One was called Please Explain, in which he talked about the experts of what various topics which was not tied to the book and movie releases that could be described as general interest. In 2006, some of these Please Explain topics include statehood, national technology, insomnia, informality, and meditation. The other feature was called under reports, in which report divided deeply into topology and social issues deemed not to have received sexual media coverage. But the show's 20th anniversary in 2005, Tom Brokaw interviewed RuPaul about the history of the show, RuPaul's goals, and RuPaul's interviewing style. The show was previously called New York and Company. Oh wow, and this is how he got fired from this harassment thing. And this is from the Me Too moment. In February 2017, producer was discussing human resources at NYC, more comments RuPaul has made for her to her that she provides. Anyway, Well, she did not consider any single comments to be fireable. She said that the comments made her feel uncomfortable. Wow. That very incident led to an investigation that resulted in one anti-harassment training for him to end the warning reports when that day was, creating an unfortunate, uncomfortable work environment. In March 2017, second producer filed a complaint against RuPaul. Played some of that. Anyway, describing comments she felt were inappropriate. Wow. On December 21st, 2017, when the Me Too movement is supposed to swing across the country, WNYC fired both RuPaul and Jonathan Schwartz, stating that investigation found that each official violated WNYC standards for providing exclusive and appropriate special work environment. They have been in place for, I believe, 15 days earlier to pay investigations. One producer complained that if she was preparing a segment about a cookbook, pulling her at the name Cabio, constantly asking word for testicle. Another producer said in 2009, when she wore a new dress, RuPaul said, "I didn't want you to be so bluntly on that." Her former show was replaced by Midday on WNYC. It has to rotate hours of shows, host a fall former show similar to that the Renard RuPaul show. WNYC replied to that show at Orbit with host Allison Stewart on September 17, 2018. Renard reported large. On July 16, 2018, he came back to radio waves and his host of the Metro Report Large on show on WBAI. He started intended to pick up anybody who left off. He continued to work on the show until his death. Personal life and death. His younger brothers and brother, Philip RuPaul, plays my dad. His mother, Frances RuPaul, plays my dad, was an actor. Wow. She was famous for the Alki Seltzer commercial. Well, ever worked. So my dad, Philip RuPaul, wrote the book, A Mother's Tale, about her. Renard discussed his mother with Philip in the show on February 22nd, 2017. He married twice. His later marriage began being the artist Melanie Baker. Both ended divorce. He died of LS on his home in Brooklyn on August 5th, 2025. He was 84 years old. My next topic has to do with John Mariah. Born Jonathan Mariah, he was an American actor. He was best known for playing Brett Boss West in the sixth season of the NBC workplace comedy Superstore. Born in Los Angeles, California, August 8th, 1941, he was Japanese-American descent. He appeared in multiple episodes of the YouTube show Hours React. Okay. That I did not know, okay? Till now, okay. His only major TV role was in Superstore, which he had just only one line in 6 seasons. The characters was thought to have been killed off in season 2 finale, but returned in season 3. He have also made a cameo appearance in NBC's American Idol, alongside Nicole Sanos and Nicole Bloom. He also plays in the variation of Asian Americans. He died on August 6, 2025, just 2 days before his 84th birthday. The next topic has to do with Jim Lovell. Born James Harper Lovell Jr., he was an American astronaut, naval aviator, test pilot, and manual engineer. In 1968, as a command pilot in Apollo 8, he was a brain barman with Anders. Became one of the first 3 astronauts in private orbit the moon. He then commanded the Apollo 13 mission in 1970, which, after commercial failure and rolled around the moon, they returned safe to Earth. In 1952, graduate of the United States National Academy in Annapolis, Maryland. Robert flew F-2H Boxing Night Flyers. He was deployed to the Western Pacific, something like that. Aboard the aircraft carrier USS Shangri-La in January 1958, he then entered the 6-month test pilot training course in the Naval Air Test Center at National Air Station Pilots River, Maryland. With Class 20, he graduated to the top of the class. He was then assigned to electronics tests, working with radar. In 1960, he became the Navy's McDonnell Douglas F-4 Plan 2 program manager. In 1961, he became a flight instructor and safety engineering officer. Naval Air Station Oceana, Virginia Beach, Virginia. He completed the Aviation Safety School at the University of Southern California. He was not just selected by NASA as one of the Mercy 7 astronauts due to several high Boltzmann counts. But he's also accepted in 1962 in September as one of the second group of astronauts in the Gemini Apollo programs. Part of the Apollo level flew into space as Gemini missions. Gemini 7 Barmar in 1985 and Gemini 12 in 1986. He was the first Martian to fly in space 4 times. Upon the 24 astronauts to have more on the moon. Laval was entered earliest to make his second visit, but remains only retardee who have not walked in the service. He was a recipient of the Quadruple Space Medal of Honor, Special Medal of Freedom. He was co-author of the 1994 book Lost Moon, which 1995 film Apollo 13 was based on. He was also cameo appearance in the film Apollo 13. In June 30th, 1995. Yeah, I was born like 2 days after I was born. He was born in Cleveland, Ohio on March 25th, 1928. He was the only child of James Wallace Sr., official salesman born in Toronto, Canada. He died in a car accident when Junior was 5 years old in 1933. Virginie Max, who was a chef's red distance, 2 years after the death of her father, Laval and his mother lived with a relative of Terry Holly, Indiana. They then moved to Boston, Wisconsin, and he went to the Charlie High School, and his member of the Boy Scouts during his childhood became the Eagle Scout. The organization's highest rank, he was interested in rocketry and built and applied models as a teenager. Wow. After graduating from high school, Laval attended the University of Wisconsin-Madison for 2 years, where he studied engineering under the United States Navy's flying missionship program from 1946 to 1948. He later credited the program for giving him the opportunity to attend college. Stated he was otherwise did not have the money to attend. In Wisconsin, he played college football and pledged the Albert Pi Amber fraternity. He was a pilot of the New York Navy. He's a pilot from working in a local restaurant and washing dishes and brushing tables. Carrying the university's lab rats and mice on weekends. While Wallace was just attending the pre-flying training in summer '48, the Navy was beginning to make cutbacks in the program. Excuse me. Well, cadets in the under the great deal of pressure of transfer out some of that. There was one concern that some of the most of the students who graduated as naval aviators was not in the pilots, but bullets and fill, some of that. To avoid the outcome, Roberts decided to apply to the United States Naval Academy in Annapolis, Maryland. Wow. Excuse me one moment. Anyways, move on. Concerning nomination for this local U.S. Representative John C. Brophy and entered eminence on July 1948. During his first year, Robert wrote treatment of the regular pilot rocket engine. He graduated in spring 1952 with a Bachelor of Science degree in Science and Navy. His marriage family began with this. He began dating Rob Martin Lovely Garage while they were in high school. His college student transferred to Wisconsin State Teachers College to George Washington University in Washington, D.C. to be near him. While he was attending the United States Naval Academy, Maryland. They married on June 6, 1952, in the ceremony in St. Anne's Church in Annapolis. The couple had 4 children: Barbara, James, Susan, and Jeffrey. Okay, Navy career began with this. Okay, Noel was one of the 50 members of the graduating class of 783, initially selected for naval navigation trade. He went to flight trade the Naval Air Station from October 1952 to February 1954. Anyway, he was on the Naval Academy on February 1st, 1954. Okay, my dad's 5 years before my dad was born. But anyway, body creation of pilot training. But anyway, it was designed the FVC-3 in Moffett Field near San Francisco, California. Okay, but 1954, 1956. For the Magdal F-2H body series, something like that. Night flyers, something like that. This included in Western Pacific deployments, something like that. Aboard the aircraft carrier USS Shangri-La. Model eventually completed the 107 carrier deck landings. Upon his return to shore duty, he was resigned to provide pilot tradition trade for the North American FJ-4 Fury, Vidal F-3H Demon, and 5 F-8U cruisers, something like that. In January 1958, something like that. Anyway, Vol entered a 6-month test pilot training course 1 week. Then the Naval Air Test Center, now United States Naval Test Pilot School, something like that. Naval Air Station Pilots River, Maryland, with Class 20, something like that, which also equally featured astronauts Wally Schreier and Pete Conard, something like that. Anyway, we give the nickname Shaky, something like that. Wall graduated at the top of the class. Usually the top graduate reside the flight the test of graduation. So they had a electronics test that complained about the never getting the top graduate, some of that. So Revolve was designed fair, so he worked at the radar sets. Then that same year, some of that, Revolve Canard Syria were one of the 110 military test pilots selected as virtual astronaut candidates for Project Mercury. Syria went on to become one of Mercury 7. But Revolve was not selected because of the temporary high borderline count. In 1960, electronics tests and environment tests were combined into become weapon tests. Something like that. And Revolve became the McDouglas F4 Volume 2 Program Manager. During this time, featured astronaut John Young was served along under him. In 1961, Revolve received under the orders the TBS from that 101 Detachment Alpha from that at Naval Air Station Ignition from that Virginia Beach, Virginia, and the Flight Surgeon and Safety Engineering Officer. We completed Aviation Safety School at the University of Southern California, something like that. And NASA career began with this, okay? His national selection. In 1952, NASA began researching the second group of astronauts, okay? Headed by during the Gemini and Apollo programs, something like that. The time is presented to public wide. Well, was found out that about selection from the Vice Management in place of Evaluation Week and Space Technology, okay? And decided to apply the second time. 3 persons selected, selection panel is concerned the Mercury 7 astronauts Alan Shepard and Deke Slayton. And that's the test pilot, excuse me, I had to drink in this real quick. Now, Warren J. Noor. Sorry about that. Now, Medusa candidates and 32 pilots who are sent to Brooks Air Force Base in San Antonio for medical explanations. Tests were there were much of the same that those supporting the 70 selected Mercury 7. But this time all passed. Remains 27 went to the mentioned Air Force Base near Houston, where they were eventually reviewed by the selection panel. On September 14th, Slayton confirmed Bob that he had been accepted to avoid tipping off the media. We've all checked in the Rice Hotel in Houston under the name of Max Pax, something like that. General manager. On September 17th, me a crowd with a 1,800 seat Cohen Auditorium, University of Houston. Beyond an official announcement, wasn't as big as the unveiling in the Mercury 7 4 years before. The group became known as the Next Nine or the New Nine. So we go. The new astronauts moved to Houston area on October 1962. Carl built houses in Turbo Cove, south of the Manned Self-Craft Center, MSC for short. Developers in Turbo Cove offered astronauts mortgages with small down payments and low interest rates. The MSC complex was not yet complete, so NASA completely released office space in Houston. Task of supervising the Next Nine's trainings medal in the Mercury 7 astronaut Gus Grissom. So anyway, each of the astronauts were given 4 months of classroom instruction on subjects such as spacecraft coordination, operational mathematics, astronomy, computing, and space medicine, like that. Anyway, class for 6 hours a day, 2 days a week. All 16 astronauts have attended. Have been attended. Anyway, had to attend. I messed my gut. There are also variations of the Gemini spacecraft, Titan II and Alice boosters. There are also in the antenna general target vehicle. Jungle survival training was conducted at the United States Air Force, USAF for short, Jungle Survival School, and Albrook Air Force Station, Paradise Canal Zone, Desert Survival Trade, State Air Force Base in Nevada, Water Survival Training in Dunker, the USN School at the Naval Air Station Canada on the Gravity Bay. Following the preparation set by Mercury 7, each of the next nine for that was assigned with a special area in which it developed an experience with that can be shared with the others, and was providing astronaut input to designers and engineers, who all became responsible for the recovery systems with that. Anyway, a lot of read there, so I gotta do something about it. But anyway, Gemini program. It's stand by. I gotta see how long this is. I'm back, folks. Sorry about that. I have to look at some premiere events that I want to premiere later. So let's get back to that right now. So shall we? So we got for us. Here we go. Gemini program. Gemini 7. Here we go. We've always selected as a backup pilot for Gemini 4, which is officially announced on July 29, 1954. Pulling the position of first space flight Fremont mission Slayer. Its pilot is Gemini 7, with command pilot Frank Borman, something like that. Anyway, on the rotation system devised by Stalin, for that, Borman was a USAF officer involved with his first man during the evaluation progress and astronaut selection. The selection of the Gemini 7 mission was officially announced on July 1st, 1985. Along that of Edward Y. and Michael Collins, the backup crew. Like all Gemini missions, as part of the preparations of Apollo, the flight's objective was to evaluate the efforts of the crew. The spacecraft with 14 days in the orbit, something like that. They're being selected specifically while for any possible moon-beam missions, like that. It would be therefore enable doctors to evaluate the medical aspects of the subject flight. The Gemini 6 mission proceeded with techniques from space. I can't pronounce it. Sorry, but also critical requirement for Apollo. These techniques are also worked out by Dean F. Graham and Buzz Aldrin. Okay, with witness gradual the species of the subject. The Gemini 6 mission was commanded by with Tom Stafford as pilot, with a serious setback on October 15th, 1995. When the agenda of the target vehicle, the Gemini 6 was supposed to exploded soon after takeoff. The fall was presented in the Launch Control Center at Cape Kennedy when this occurred. Officials were from McDowell with the manufacturer of the Gemini spacecraft, then raised the possibility of the that between Gemini 6 and Gemini 7 during the 2 weeks of Gemini 7 was in orbit. The only change to the latter's flight plan this required was to chronologize its orbit to match up to intended for the target vehicle. Borman rejected the promotion by Scotsman at the level and sovereign exchange prices on the ground that it was hazardous and likely to jeopardize the 14-day mission and judges the loss of oxygen. Something like that. Plan the mission decided that both astronauts would sleep at the same time or observe the same work period. One in the morning, one in the afternoon. Experiments were not scheduled, but within the time allowed. Of 20 experiments, 8 were medical and with gathering data of the efforts of long duration spacecraft flights like that. Of the rest, 4 were test spacecraft systems, 5 were involved memory of navigations with that, and 3 involved photography and observation. Space safe space with that, the G5C with that spacesuit was designed to incorporate a sparse hood with that instead of helmet and zippers instead of neck rings with that. Weighted far less than standard Gemini spacesuits with that could be stolen more easily with that. Gemini 7 lifted off on December 4th, 1985 and reached its embedded 300 kilometers, 160 nmi with that. 100 mi, I can't pronounce these names, sorry, near Curious orbit. The ball was taller than Norman Borman with that, with difficulty removing the spacesuit. Mission rules required that one astronaut remains suited at all times. The suit would made the astronauts improperly warm, something like that. Mission controls eventually landed and allowed both to leave their suits off. Gemini 6, now called Gemini 6A, something like that, attempted to launch on December 12th, but but shut down less than 2 seconds later due to an initial problem, with the fuel cap initially having been left in place. After repairs, Gemini 6A successfully left off on December 15th. Visualized on Gemini 7 on Gemini 6A's orbit. The 2 spacecraft then flew in Terra for 3 orbits. The distance between them carrying varied between 0.30 and 9 meters, 1 to 300 feet. Gemini 6A return to Earth on December 16th. Wow. On the final 2 days of mission, we've all have to read part of the Drums Around the Mohawk by Walter D. Emmons. It was the earlier long duration flights. Malaysians were culminated and the flight wore on. Three of the processors will stop working. After the flight, this was tracing the track that they were had on the old type of laminates from that in the truss chamber instead of the new type of them that had been developed to solve this problem. This proved that it always enormous in that there was more than concern over the loss of power of the food cells from that. But day 13, a warm light that illuminated continuously from that. It was feared that the cells, which were only given partial outputs from that, might fall completely, but the mission might have to be cut short. Tests were carried out in St. Louis. There was dominance when that demonstrates when that the batteries could sustain them and remain the flight. Gemini 7 made a successful return to orbit on December 18th. 14-day flight set a record making 206 orbits. Gemini 12 on January 24th, 1966, Evolved was named the backup command pilot on Gemini 10. Wow. With orbit as pilot on March 21st, this was changed as a result of the deaths in the Gemini 9 prime crew, Elliot C. and Charles Bassett in the aircraft crash from that. Gemini 9 backup crew of Tom Suffer and Gene Creeman became the prime crew of Gemini 9A, with Aldrin became their backups. This piloted Lovell in his second flight from that in his first command. Gemini 12. Lovell and Aldrin's from that selection of the mission was officially announced on June 17th, along with that of Corin Cooper and Gene Collins and the backup. Anyway, the goal of Gemini 12 to follow the Gemini mission was ill-defined as far as the officially Gemini 12 didn't have a mission. With what they recall, it was, I guess, by default supposed to wind up the Gemini program and cache all those items were there not caught in previous flights. By July, the mission have become the master launchery activity, EVA for short. Something that had been proven problematic on earlier Gemini missions, as they've been more severe than that expected in performing specific tasks that been more complicated from that. Series of evaluations have been developed in response to different problems that have been encountered from that. It has been found that moving in space was similar to being underwater, and not since Aldrin has been using a new training technique. In waste restraint. Oh, Jesus. Don't open the door. Anyway. Waste restraint, anyway. Was provided the one spacesuit and come right back. I am back, folks. I am so sorry to delay. I just came back from eating some stuff and watching YouTube videos. And let's get back to the show right now. So, shall we? This is God for us. Anyways. The goals of Gemini 12, the final Gemini mission, was ill-defined at first. Anyway. Initially, Gemini 12 did have a mission, with all we recall. It was, I guess, by default, supposed to wind up the Gemini program catch all those items that were not caught previous flights. By July, his mission had become, the master MA and farmer activity EFVA for short. Anyway, some has to be problematic or earlier Gemini missions. It had been anyway. It has been more. Some has been proven problematic or earlier Gemini missions. Anyway, but it has been more explanation expected performing. I don't know what I can moment about that. Anyway, some has been proven problematic or earlier Gemini missions as they've been more suspicious than expected at performing several tasks has been more complicated, somewhat that. Anyway, complicated. Anyway, a series of combinations have been developed in response to problems that have encountered. Something like that. It has been found that moving in space, similar to being underwater. Something like that. Anyway, and Aldrin has been made use of this new training technique. Okay, a ways of straight was provided of the space unit suit. Okay, and Gemini spacecraft and the general target vehicle has been initial handrails, handholds, some of that rings for favoring the race restraints like that. Procedures like that were modified to minimize baggage like that. Anyways, Gemini 12 left off on November 11th and quickly achieved orbit. Its first task was replaced with its general target vehicle. This is combined with the readiness radar was set fails like that. Instead, Aldrin, who has driven his PhD on the readiness, uses SEXTANT something like that to measure the angle between the spacecraft and jet, then calculate the required actions using an onboard computer, something like that. Volvo then flew the spacecraft accordingly. Readiness that was achieved, and Gemini is especially dogged with the agenda, something like that. Achieving the 5th place space like that with readiness like that. And 4th space docking with the agenda target vehicle. Volvo then successfully docked and docked again, something like that. Already performed their 3 EVAs, and first with the setup EVA on November 12th, in which the spacecraft door was open and they shut up, something like that, but not leave the spacecraft. The setup EVA mimicked some of the actions he would do during his free flight EVA, so he could compare the effort expended between the two, something like that. It said the EVA record of 2 hours and 20 minutes. Well, okay. Next day, Aldrin performed his free flight EVA. He climbed across newly installed handhold to the agenda and installed the cable need for the gravity from that stabilization experiment. He performed several tasks, including installing electrical connectors and testing tools that will be needed for Apollo. The EVA concluded after 2 hours and 6 minutes. Before returning to the spacecraft, Aldrin cleaned pilot's window with the cloth. Well, okay. Anyways, where are we? Okay, so, there we go. And we'll jokingly ask him if he would come match Chenjiao as well. A third 55-minute stand-up EVA was conducted at November 14th, during which Aldrin took photographs, conducted experiments, and discarded some unneeded items. Gemini 12 returned to Earth on November 15th after 59 orbits. During re-entry, a pouch that contained books, small pieces of equipment broke free, ran in Wobbles lap. Well, okay. He did not want to grab it, but he's afraid that he might pull the D-ring and to terminate the ejector seats like that. It did not move any further. The landing went well. The spacecraft landed 5.6 kilometers, not free some of that MI 5.5 miles from that. Anyways, how you pronounce it better. From the recovery ship, the aircraft carried USS Wasp with that. 12 experiments have been carried out. This mission proved that people could work eventually outside the spacecraft, which is part of the Apollo missions with the goals of getting man on the moon by the end of the decade. Wow, okay. Okay, move on. Apollo program. Let's start with Apollo 1. So we got January 27, 1997. Grayson White and Roger Cafe was killed in the Apollo 1 fire. Wow, scary enough. At the time, Barbara was in Washington D.C., where one of the few astronauts, Neil Armstrong, Scott Carpenter, Gordon Cooper, and Richard Gordon, he attended the signing the aerospace treaty. With possession afterwards in the green room of the White House hosted by President Richard Johnson. 4 days later, Barbara flew to West Point, New York, with Warren and NASA. NASA T-38, the funeral service in the White on the old Capitol. After the service, White was laid to rest in the West Point Cemetery. Barbara as a pallbearer along with the Armstrong, Borman, Sherman, Stafford, and Aldrin. Wow, okay. The Apollo instruments. Okay. Anyways, the Apollo command model was redesigned after the fire, and afterwards it underwent a series of coordination tasks. In April 1968, Revolve, along with a few astronauts, Stuart Russell and Charles Duke, spent 48 hours in command model CM-07A, following in the Gulf of Mexico, to test the seaworthiness of Apollo spacecraft. NASA researcher Vessel and retriever, stood by the technicians and divers. While the astronauts succeeded, how quickly the spacecraft coordination device could ride from the stable to upside down position. Urine collection hose were used to vacuum up the water that entered the cabin. But this not seem to bother Revolve. Duke regarded it was the worst experiment as astronauts, as Russell became quite seasick. Wow, scary I know. And the NASA Roundup newspaper wrote the event under the headline Yo Ho and Battle of Nazarine? Wow, okay, man, now sorry. Refers to the very name of a motion sickness drug. Wow, okay. Apollo 8. Now, What was originally chosen as the commander of ball pilot CMP on the backup crew of Apollo 9, with along with Armstrong as the commander CDR, and Aldrin as the crew model pilot MLP. Now, Apollo 9 was planned to have on-reach Earth pilot test in the moment Mondale MLM, something that I would pronounce it, sorry. While they replaced Miles Collins as CMP on Apollo 9 prime crew in July 1988. Collins needed to have the surgery, the bone spur on his spine. The United World in this Gemini 7, Commander Frank Barn was LLP William Anders. Aldrin became Volvo's backup CMP, and Fred Hayes joined Armstrong's crew as LLP. Cause delays on the first crew and prevented it from being ready in time to fly Apollo 8. Planned to roll off orbits like that. Test like that. Anyway, it was decided to swap the Apollo 8 Apollo 9 prime and back up the crews and the flight schedule so that the crew trained for the roll orbit test to fly at Apollo 9. When the LM something that would be ready, Lunar Orbit Flight, now Apollo 8, something like that, place the virtual Apollo 9 Museum Earth Orbit Test Mission. So with that, the crew was informed of the decision on August 10th, 1988. Excuse me. And the train scheduled adjusting accordingly. Starting in September, the crew would spend 10 hours a day in the summer rehearsing the mission. Apollo 8 was launched on December 21st, 1988. Boreum, Lavelle, and Anders became the first crew to ride the Saturn V rocket, as well as the first travel to the moon. The Apollo craft entered the rubber Earth on Christmas Eve, 1988, and reduced speed to go into 10.9 by 12.1 kilometers, 5.9 by 168.5 miles of anyway, 6.8 by 193.9 miles orbit. The engine was then fired again to enter 111 kilometers, 660.9 anyway, anyway, 69 miles. Not joking about that, but anyway, cursor orbit about the moon. On Christmas Eve, something like that, the crew will be broadcast black and white television pictures, local service back to Earth. Lovell took the turn to Barman and Anders, reading passages from the Bible creation story of the book of Genesis, like that. They made a total of 10 orbits in the moon in 20 hours, 10 minutes. Began to return to Earth on Christmas Day. The rocket burn made on the moon far side. And the radio took contract with Earth. When contract was reestablished, Wallace broadcast, please be informed there is a Santa Claus. CBMPs like that. Lavelle was the Sat Navigator. I pronounce it Navigator. Something like that. Anyway, using a spacecraft SEST, I pronounce it. Sorry. Anyway, to demonstrate this pollution by measuring star pollutions. Their measurements were used to calculate required mid-course corrections. Anyway, I misspoke it wrong, but anyway, during otherwise idle time, he conducted navigation sightings like that. Referring to the model to view stars and entering data via of the Apollo guidance computer keyboard. So anyway, during one of these data entries, violated accidentally erased one of the computer memory and by entering the wrong codes. Wow. Because the actual memory unit, IMU for short, the rest of the Momio and having the same orientation it did before it left off. The IMU then initially trusted firing to correct the newly registered attitude. After initiating the issue, the crew knew that would have to re-enter the orbital data. Lavelle took about 10 minutes to calculate the correct values, and then trusted the to outweigh the Rigel stars, Rigel and Styrus in the SEX tag. Anyway, another 15 minutes to enter the correct measurements into the computer. The repairs later proved to be valuable during Apollo 13. When Lavelle had to perform similar manual arrangements like that, under the critical conditions of the IMU has been turned off to conserve energy, and features the moon service Mount Marion was named by and his wife. Well, okay. Spacecraft splashed down safely before dawn on December 27th after 147 hours of flight. 4.8 kilometers, 2.6 miles from that, 3.0 miles from the recovery ship. The aircraft carrier USS Yorktown. It was established that the crew would travel 933,419 kilometers, 54,006 miles, 80,000 miles. Now, the Apollo 13 goes like this. Well was backup CDR on Apollo 11 when Anders was CMB, P, some of that, and A's and LMP. In early 1969, Anders accepted a job in the supervisor in Space Casual and August 1969. So go ahead. Announced he would retire the astronaut at the time. Became Mattingly, pronounce it, but was moved to the support crew, Patrol, trained with Anders as a backup CMP in case Apollo 11 was delayed in the past in the initial July launch date. Anyways, and as with Anders would be unavailable, and the normal crew were trained during Apollo. Robert Magley Hayes were scheduled to fly the prime crew of Apollo 14. Wow. But George Marlowe, the director of NASA's Office of Manned Space Flight, rejected Slade's choice of through Mercury 7 astronaut Alan Shepard to command Apollo 13. Shepard had only recently returned to flight status after being grounded for several years. And Marjorie replied that he needed more training time to prepare the mission to move. Saying and then asked Arrival if he were willing to switch places with Shepard's crew to give them more training time. Sure, why not? Arrival replied. What could possibly be the difference between Apollo 13 and Apollo 14? Now, there is one more change. 7 days before launch, remember Apollo 13 backup Duke crew, some of that Duke contracted rebellion from the friend of his son. Despite both the prime and backup crews were trained together of the 5, and Magley was not mature immune from that through exposure from that. Normally, if a main member of the prime crew had been grounded, the remaining crew would be replaced as well, something like that. Backup crew substituted. But Duke's illness ruled this out. So 2 days before launch, Magley was replaced by Jack Stewart for the backup crew. Magley was never developed rebellion and blared through the moon on Apollo 16. Wow, okay. He also lifted off aboard Apollo 13 on April 11, 1970. He and A's were landed during the Flawed Mars crater. The Flawed formation was believed to contain much material splattered by the plat of the that filled the Barnes Basin. Early moves in history, the date to provide information about the history of the moon, early history of the Earth and the moon. Wow, okay. We have a problem here. Sparking from the mission and control. This is Houston. Say again, please. Crash will come here, Jack. Caution responded. Houston, we have a problem. Will replied. Now, that's what he said, and I was gonna say it during my it was during my racist jokes episode on Okay, No More Forever that I have to talk about this, okay? It was basically true. Houston, we had a problem. It was many times in Apollo 13, but that's just me. Anyway, it said on page 495 on a 1995 book called Ravo and Kruger. Anyway, during routine working oxygen, tanks stir and transferred to the moon. Fire started inside an oxygen tank. The most probable cause dominated by NASA was damage and ritual insertion on wiring that created a spark that started a fire. Wow. A problem that drained the tank that had been exploded before the mission. And Lowell has proved that the action that taking a turn on the heaters to purge the oxygen rather than to replace a faulty tank. Something like that. Anyways, which that would have delayed by the mission by a month. Okay, near that he would watch the paid crew where the tank contained the long-term switch. The heaters were left in the air went on for 8 hours. Well, okay. While it successfully purged the oxygen, it also removed Teflon from that exhaustion the copper electrical wiring, which is oxygen rapidly turned into a high pressure gas, which burns the tanks like that. It caused a leak in the second oxygen tank. In just over 2 hours, all onboard oxygen was lost. Anyway. Disabling the Iberian fuel cells that provide electrical power to the command service module Odyssey. Anyway. Apollo 13 was the second mission not to use the free return strategies like that. Tragedy. Anyway. So that would be explored the western regions. Using the Apollo Leader Mario as a lifeboat, provide battery power, oxygen, and propulsion like that. Lola and his crew established the free return strategies for that. That was it. Then they left, and swung them on the moon, then returned home. Based on the flight controllers' calculations made on Earth, Lola had to adjust the course twice by manually controlling the modules, trusting the engines. Apollo 13 returned safely to Earth on April 17th. I'm afraid Lovell said this is going to be the last lunar mission for a long time. This comment was revealed by NASA Administrator Thomas O'Pay. Last year, the public, NASA will be monitoring more missions to move. 9 months later, Apollo 14 will make the voyage to far more with moderated oxygen tanks and with the extra battery to emergencies. Instead released on August 7, 2025, acting NASA's commander seen talking about his novel claim concentrated about pressure of having helped Apollo 13's crew return safely to Earth, saying CNN's report of what was passing. As well as said to NASA, Houston we have a podcast. In 2020, you can solely have the problem. It's you know you eyes can and then you hope there's a miracle coming on, and because a miracle is something you have to do yourself or happen to be people to help you. Apollo 13's flight strategy gave Roswell, Hayes, and Swigert the record for the farthest distance humans have ever traveled from Earth. Roswell is only 3 men to travel the moon twice. Unlike the other two, John Young and Gene Corman, he never walked on it. He only occurred 715 hours and 55 minutes in space flights, and his Gemini and Apollo flights. Personal record that served until the Skylab 3 mission in 1973. Lay Life and Death. I can't scroll it down, really? Okay, there we go. Lay Life and Death. Here we go. He retired from the Navy and the space program in March 1973. Went out to work on Bay Houston Tower Company in Houston, Texas. Taking the role of CEO in 1975. He became president of Fisk Telephone System in 1977. Where he worked at the Central Corporation in Chicago. Retired as executive vice president in 1991 of New Year's Day. Well, was a recipient of the Distinguished Eagle Scout Award. He was also recognized by the Boy Scouts of America with their Silver Buffalo Award. Okay? He's also served as a board of directors of several organizations, including Federal Society Corporation in Chicago in 1994, from 1984 to 2003, and National Corporation of America in his hometown of Milwaukee, Wisconsin, from 1990 to 1999, in Central from 1987 to 1991. In 1999, Laval family opened a restaurant in Lake Forest, Illinois. Rebels from Lake Forest. The restaurant displayed memorabilia from Rebels' time in NASA and the filming of Apollo 13. Oh, okay. The restaurant was sold on with son and executive chef James J. 2006. The restaurant was put on the market for sale in February of 2014, and it closed in April 2015. The property being auctioned for the same month. Wells' wife Marion, born July 11, 1930, has died of natural causes on August 27, 2023. She was 93 years old. However, James Laval Jr. has died on August 27, 2025. August 7, 2025. Anyway, at his home in Lake Forest, Illinois. James Laval Jr. was 97 years old. The next dev topic has to do with Ray Brooks, born Raymond Michael Brooks. He was an English television and film actor. He was born in Boston, East Sussex, on April 20th, 1940. Died. He began his career as a television actor. He appeared on ITV soap opera, Cardigan Street, 1964, as Norman Phillips. He played Terry Mills in the series Taxi with Sid James in 1963. He played small roles in British films such as EMS, HMS, I messed up EMS, but no, I messed up anyway. HMS, The Fight, Play It Cool, and Some People. Anyway, he also rose in production in the UK after starring alongside Michael Crawford and Rhea quality him 1965 film The Knack and How to Get. The film was directed by Richard Lester, won the Palme d'Or and the Kennedy Film Festival in 1965. Anyways, Brooks followed up to the success starring the groundbreaking 1966 television drama Can We Come Home. In an interview with Sussex Live, he recalled, I was native, was casting director would be coming to me, but also although the people they offered me work. Very often often the film something like that didn't materialize because they couldn't get the money together. Naturally, I don't think I would ever be that good as an actor. I was more an image of a young man. I never look good looking as say my community, David Hemmings. And don't forget that this is one period of terrorist stamp. There was a lot of commission. Through the 60s, Brooks had a small role in a number of art cults television series, including The Avengers, Danger Man, Randall and Homburg, Disease, and Doomwatch. In 1965, he starred as a prominent slick character in Groom's Way episode Gang War. He starred a major role with David Campbell in the Doctor Who film Dark's Invasion of 2150 AD in 1966. Anyway, his major film roles in the 70s were less numerous. These include the roles in The West Garway in 1970, Alice Adventures in Wonderland in 1972, and then it carried on Aboard in 1972, same year. But anyway, sorry I had to see that. But anyway, I'm not gonna say it, but and it's a Wayer over Eastward, Wayer and Gario. He also appeared in a number of Pete Walker films, including The Flesh and the Blood Show of 1972, Tiffany Jones 1973, and House of Whipcord 1974. In this decade alone, he also released an album of his own songs to build a successful career performing voiceovers for television and advertisements in the children's television series Mr. Band. Anyways, in the 80s and 90s, Brooks returned to big promise of BBC comedy drama Big Deal in 1984-1986, where he co-starred with Sharon Dawes. Anyways, after Big Deal ended, Bruce and Dawson Brooks starred together as different characters in popular Going Pays 1992, 1993. I misspoke around. Going Pays 1992-93, as about a pair of middle-aged foster parents. In 1980, anyway, let's look at that. Brooks narrated David McKee's children's animation Teen Raw, following on his voiceover from McGee's previous pulp creation, Mr. Ben. From 1980 to 1985, he played Detective Sergeant Dave Brooks on BBC Radio 4, on BBC Radio 2, and 4 series of Detective written by Robert Barr. Successfully repeated on BBC Radio 4 Extra in 2014. Anyways, Brooks starred from the Edward Boyd thriller Castle in Spain in BBC Radio 4 in 1987. In 1987, BBC chose Brooks as one of the principal character voices for the acclaimed French animated science fiction film Las Measures de Femmes, which the BBC had co-produced in 1982. 2010. And it was also original next sub announcement voice in the Twilight system before being replaced by Nicholas Owen. In 2002, Brooks acted in the BBC drama 2,000 Acres of Sky. Anyway, he also joined the cast in long-running BBC soap opera EastEnders and Joe Macer in 2005. In September 2006, it was announced that Brooks' EastEnders character would depart in January 2007, which followed the departure of Joe's wife from Pauline Fuller, Wendy Willard Richard at Christmas. His final appearance on January 26, when his character confessed to killing Pauline before falling the window to his death. Brooks starred as Detective Sergeant Brooks in the BBC Radio 2 police series Robert Barr Detective, Series 1, 13 episodes, Series 2, 10 episodes, Series 3, 8 episodes, and Series 4, 8 episodes from 1980 to 1985. The has been rebroadcast on BBC Radio 4 Extra since 2013. It has been written by Robert Barr. Personal life and death. Brooks married Sadie Epcom in 1963. The marriage has produced 3 children. In the last few years of his life, Brooks has dementia. He died following a short illness on August 9th, 2025. He was 86 years old. My next step topic is to a B. Baxter. Born Joan Maureen Baxter. She was an English television producer, best known for editing a long-running BBC television children's magazine show Blue Pier from 1965 until 1988. As head of the programming, Baxter devised much of the format that is still used today. Born May 25th, 1943, okay? Emergency Hospital in Redshire, England. The Brian Baxter and Dorothy Byers. Anyway. Her father was a teacher who later became the director of a sportswear company. Her mother was a pianist. Wow, okay. She grew up at Byers and a surprising role in formats in the 1930s. Then at 92 Highway Road in the 40s. In Highway Road, she helped to raise money for the city's Byers Fund in 1940. Baxter was educated in Weissman Girls Grammar School. Wow, okay. Weissman Girls Grammar School, anyway. Winchester. After the war, age 12, she took part of the Winchester Drama Society, the Little Theater Drama Productions writing school, and such as playing Emma Elizabeth Forbes and Northanger Abbey in 1951. She visited her old school in Saturday, my birthday, okay, 1975, okay. At the Garden Fest and another reunion at college in 1987, April. She studied at St. Mary's, at a women's college at Durham University between 1952 and 1955. And a meeting with the career officer, something like that, careers officer at the university, Baxter noticed information about working in the BBC. It was that being snotty that about sexuality, working or teaching, and I just didn't want to be either of them. She said in 2013 the options offered to her on this occasion. This positive teaching offer seemed to me, though maybe I'm being unduly sensitive. Should I be blind spot about women? All the men was going off to do these amazing things. I really should be grateful to him. After graduating with a social science degree, Baxter joined the BBC as a studios manager in 1955, becoming producer of school's English programming in 1958. Anyway, and I've listened with Mother in 1961. After moving to February Post in 1982, within BBC Television owning the staff storage, she's gained a permanent post as producer of Boopier, anyway, from December 1992. Anyway, remained readily responsible for programming for over a quarter of a century. Wow, okay. First broadcast in Boopier, anyway. First broadcast on October 16, 1988. Boopier has been originally devised by John Hunter Blair, but it was Baxter who, and Deputy Edward Barnes, later head of BBC television, anyway, who developed the program of the successful top programming, which is a budget of only £180 per edition. When the first introduced, Barnes was told, "You only look like after Bay." She didn't know what very much for doing considerable direction. Something like that. Baxter bought it and introduced the Boopier badge in 1963. She encouraged children to send in programming ideas, pictures, letters, and stories. And also she introduced the now famous annual appeals. She was awarded the Golden Badge herself when she retired as editor of the programming. Having been disappointed as a child to receive the same reply twice to different letters that she had written to edit Barnes on that. She also introduced a card index system so that Boopier viewers could receive more personal responses. Baxter became programming editor in 1965 April, following the reorganization, while Barnes with Rosemary Gill became producers when the programming began to broadcast twice a week in 1964. Anyway, Baxter was the vice speaker of some expert presenters. Bobby Singleton said Baxter treated the presenters like children. Peter Purrs replaced her, saying that programming succeeded. And I've said that many times because of her, not respect to her, she obviously lowered it. That's like that. And I did always agree with her views like that. Anyway, but she was right. Viewing said Baxter bullied her. Wow, okay. Really until she decided to resign in 1988. After her first year of presenting, although she was preserved to stay, but Baxter retired later that year. Post-Boopier Life and Death. Her first final programming in the role of editor aired on June 27, 1988. Her husband, John Huster, who had been the BBC School's music program producer and was a music editor, educator, something like that, had accepted a job offer in Hong Kong. After returning from Hong Kong in 1993, Baxter continued to work at BBC as a consultant with the Directors General Michael Checkland and John Burt. Huster died in 2000. In 1981, New Year's Honours, Baxter was appointed a member of the Order British Empire, MBE for short. The professional work as editor of Boopier. She received her MBE for Queen Elizabeth II at Buckingham Palace on February 10, 1981. She's also a fellow of the Royal Intelligence Society and received honorary D.Litt from the University of Newcastle in 1988 and the University of Durham in 2012. In September 2008, Baxter expressed disapprobation for the way Boopier was being run and said that she believed that the BBC was trying to close the programming down. In November 2013, Baxter announced that the representing the special award for the BAFTA Children's Awards in 2013. Baxter was praised by Anna Palm, former head of BBC Children's Television, receiving the award. Holm just told James Martinson of the Guardian in 2013 somehow it was overlooked. If anyone deserves to be recognized, she does. Boopier is a legend and she is a Boopier. In June 2014, Baxter was a guest on BBC's Radio 4 Desert Island Desk. Music choice includes dual grashes from the Ceremony of Carols by Benjamin Britten, the final chorus in St. Michael's Passion, from so boring. John Sebastian Bach, I hate this name, sorry. And Melody by, I hate this, no, it's not the same character, but anyway. EPF, anyway. And probably should do it from, I hate that name, sorry. Magic Fruit by, I hate this name to death. I love it back then, I hate it now. Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart, so boring, sorry. Anyways, her book choice is Travis Tree by, this name I don't like it one bit. Patrick Lee Farmer, so boring. Anyway, she died on August 10th, 2025. She was 92 years old. She had suffered from breast cancer and Alzheimer's disease. The next step topic has to do with Bobby Willock, born Robert Stanley Bullock. He was an American singer, songwriter, and musician. Now in this role with the keyboardist and vocalist in the blues rock band Derek and Dominoes, which he co-founded with Eric Chopin in 1970. Born in Memphis, Tennessee in 1948, March 18th, he began his career in the Broadway soul music scene in the 1960s, forming acts with Sam Dave and Booker T and the MGs. He brought his group for this work on the George Harrison album, All Things Might Pass. His keys were writing or co-writing half of the tracks to writing other love songs. Willock released several albums in the 1970s and after hiatus returned to music in the late 90s in collaboration with his wife, Coco Carmen in Austin, Texas. In the article Mojo magazine, May 2011, music journalist Bill Socliffe, some of that, described Wilcox as been born in Memphis, learning to play Hammond organ, appearing on Booker T's Shores and Sax studios. While still a teenager, Willock befriended acts with Social Sax Records, including Albert King, Sam and Dave, the several singers, and Booker T the MGs. It was the first white artist to sign with the label. His collaboration to the recording was in 1967. It was supplied Hey Cops on Sam and Dave's single I Thank You. Between 1955 and 1988, Wilcox anyway, formed regularly in the Memphis area, something like that. Anyway, playing organs with the local soul band, Sword Cause, before performing the Counts. In his 2010 biography, Wilcox writes in his period with Memphis says this: "It was a great time in town before music band, especially soul music. It was real rhythm and blues. Albert King R&B, that's what I'm talking about. Anyway, it was losing all about music everywhere, something like that. See that you were churned. With South sax music such as Steve Cropper in his memoir, and Donald Duck, Don, and Don Nix, prepared to produce a pop album by him on the Sax Specialty label. Willock instead left Memphis after meeting and then husband and wife team Deli and Bonnie Wallace by that. Willock recalls that he was performing at the club with the Cows, the Bombers invited him to join the Soul Mary band they were forming in Los Angeles. Anyways, Dolly and Bonnie, 1968 to 1970. Willock recorded on keyboards and vocals in two Dolly and Bonnie albums, 1999, Home and Accept No Substitutes. The toy band known as Dolly and Bonnie and Friends. Anyway, including musicians he would continue to work with on projects through the early 1970s. Bassist Carl Well, drummers Jim and Jim Gordon, and horn section comprising Bobby Keys and Jim Price. Another member was Eric Chopin, something like that, who joined the Friends as lead guitarist midway through a U.S. tour in July and August 1969. Anyway, on this tour, Deli and Bonnie was supporting Kaplan's short-lived kazoo group, Blind Faith, with Steve Winwood. Anyway, he later described Winwalk as without a doubt was the most energetic assignment I have ever seen. Along with other members of Deli and Bonnie, Winwalk flew to England in July 1969, November 1969. So anyway, to prepare how he polarized European tour paralyzed by Chapman's one that. So biography, he stated that their arrival in London changed the dynamics of the band. His barmates will now serve themselves as big stars as one solely responsible for the newfound success. One in London, Willock participated from that in session with soul the American soul singer Doris Troy. The Beatles album record record label. The album Doris Troy in 1970 was co-produced by George Harrison, who invited Chaplin, Doris and Deli and Bonnie in the British press, accepted Chaplin's invitation to join the tour. Anyway, move on. Through Harrison, Will Clark with the band, then played at John Lennon's Petersburg Christmas concert, held in the Lillian Ballroom in London, December 15th, 1909. In early 1970, Deli and Bonnie and Friends backed Chaplin in his debut solo album, Eric Chaplin, and toured America with the English guitarist. After arguments, the barmaids offered money, and other friends quit the band and joined Leon Russell and Joe Cocker's Mad Dog's English Men tour. Ray White continued to work with Deli and Bonnie until April. Bonnie session for the album to Bonnie and Deli in 1970. Quabbers advised he then returned to England, stayed with Chaplin and his home, Howard and Edge in Surrey. Okay, move on. Anyway, Derek and Domino's 1970, 1971. Anyways, seeking to start a new band, Willock and Chaplin were reunited with Ray and Gorham in the session at PB Arnold before getting on track back at Harrison in the 1970 triple album All Things Must Pass. Willock would describe the later session as special in every way. Although initially compositions remained as curtain, due to the large cast of musicians Bill Spector produced record. Harrison biographer Stephen Lang advised Woodcock as one of the two core keyboard players, and All Things Must Pass. Evan Tresby favored Hammond organ as his keyboard instrument. Willock played piano for the first time in the studio record during the sessions for Harrison's Beware of Darkness. In June 1970, during the All Things Must Pass sessions, Chaplin, Wilcock, Locksman, Ray and Gore formed the blues rock band during the Dominoes. Anyways, the first release was a US only single, Tell the Truth, produced by Spector and written probably by Whitlock. In August, one of the works on Harrison's albums was complete. During the Dominoes tour of the UK, playing in small venues. In September, Whitlock and his bandmates were also participating in London sessions with Dr. John album, The Sun, Moon, Herbs, in 1971. And having Spencer's treatments on the sound, Spen went to Spectral Record Studios in Miami to work with producer Tom Downs with that, under what became the double album, Letter and Other Assorted Love Songs in 1970, as well as the remaining to Tell the Truth. The album included 6 other songs written and co-written by Willock, including Any Day, Why This Love, you Gotta Be So Sad, Keep On Growing, and Torn Tree in the Gardens. Anyway, in addition, Willock helped Common Fish finish Bell Bottom Blues. Anyway, although he was not initially credited the co-writer on the song, Keep On Growing, Top Tree in the Garden, featuring Willock and lead vocals, while other tracks we call share the singing and style remained in the same Dave. Anyway. Having recorded of Lala, we were on the road and were scoring numerous amounts of drugs to take with us. That's still the beginning of end. Still on the worst nightmare night. We were on the best of band on the planet. It was impossible for us to play badly. Bob Woodcock, we took the demise of the Dominoes December 2006. So yeah, at the end of the power of the Dominoes music. Anyway, Chadwick's inspiration to songs Lola has been is acquired from Patty Boyd, Harrison's wife. Well, okay. Willock would make a relationship with Boyd's sister, Paula, at the time. Wow. It was therefore you describe it as in the inner circle, in the middle of all of them, comments on the musical dialogue between Harrison and Chadwick in their songs. There's a simple messages going back and forth between two good friends in a way healing and sealing each other free. I was already know that there was a better place in those songs and all things must pass. We read the Eric, just like Eric who were just George and the Lola record. Between October and December 1970, Derek and Dominoes toured the U.S. in support of Layla. The Elton John band was the opening act. In his autobiography, Elton John said they were available for this side of the stage. I took memorable notes of the performance. It was a keyboard player, Bobby Whitlock, and I watched him like a hawk. You watch and you learn from people what that you experience like from you. But the later album made a commercial impact on Lee's, failing to chart in the United Kingdom. Chapman's responsibility at being rejected by Boyd. The band's drug admissions and personal conflicts between the members, personality with Gordon, all attributed to the breakup of these Dominoes in May 1971. Wow. Solo career, 1971, 1976. Anyway, Willock to record his debut album, Bill Willock in 1972 at London's Olympic Studios in 1971. Anyways, with A. Johnson as co-producer, the recording took place in his abortive sessions in the Dominoes second studio album. Press release for the 2013 reissue of Bill Willock's that gives their second recording date and starting in May, March 1971. Anyway. When Domino's biographer Jen Reed writes sessions happened in January that year. Willock played a selection on electric river guitar on much of the album, which also includes musical compositions for all the Domino's often recorded separately. The bandmates Harrison, Keys, Price, and Kellers from that. Among those tracks was a Willock Bonnie Bramlett combination that had featured the Downey's Bonnie's live shows in 1969-1970. David Without Jesus was co-written by Willock and Don Nix. The record produced peak at number 140 the U.S. Billboard 200 charts. The same magazine praised it as a personally powered first album. Willock's second solo album, also on ABC Dono Records, was Stop While Relevant, released in November 1972. He also appearance by Chapman and Gordon on Hello L.A. Bye Bye Birmingham. Although the major release album, including another remake of To Tell the Truth, featured no associations with such guitarists like Rick Belbo and X Van Der Graaf, because the genre happened out there. Bassist Keith Ellis. The album was co-produced by Jimmy Miller, whose connection to Rolling Stones, where the Willock made an uncredited combination of the band, some Eliza Main Street double album, 1972. But anyway, by this point, Lala's Child Track had been a hit song. Following its release in the single, the popularity Chapman's combination 1972, leading the commercial and price with Derek and the Domino's bladed commercial success. In 1970, we recorded a live album in concert. It was commercially well received when it issued issued in January 1973. Okay. Walter peaking number 190 in the Billboard 200. Okay. However, it was Willock's last album to place in the chart. Willock tried in vain of Chaplin to come out and play. Realized it was not going to happen. After 2 years away, he went back to the United States. His next solo album was One at a Time, co-produced with Bill Habermas and something like that. Released in 1975, accompanying records. Rock Up Your Socks Off, followed in 1976, over the new recording of Why Does Your Love You Go to Be So Sad. Willock famously drew the music industry altogether. He was told Mojo career, Harry Savio in 2001, I had my own problems to deal with. Speaking to Australian Austin Chronicle in 2006, he also said in his retirement, it's hard to stop because there's nothing to do with music, the rule, but the poverty and disco. He also said this in 2006, about saying this in December 2006, saying this. I'm indirectly responsible to disco, Chavez manager. Robert Stigwood took the Dominoes and money. I used to create RCO records and record the Bee Gees. Deepest apologies to the entire music world. Rare career. For much of the 80s and 90s, Rock lived in the farm in Mississippi, raising his children, Ashley Faye and Boo Eli, and doing his social obsession work. He has his own television show with Steve Cropper. Rare music release during the period was Put the Angels Around You, doing it with Sky singer Maggie Bell, issued a singer in 1983 from Led Zeppelin's Song Records. And in 1999, he resumed his solo career with It's About Time, which included competitions with Cropper and saxophonist Jim Horn. Michael Smith and All Music described the Mule album as one of Willock's most extravagant creations yet. The fine set for the musicians we haven't heard of enough in recent years. In April 2000, Willock reunited with Chaplin to play live on the BBC's Lair with Joel Hallan. The following year, he contributed piano anyway. The Sweet Tea with blue guitarist Buddy Guy. In 2003, he and his partner, musician Coco Carmel, collaborated other sources of a lot of songs. He also a live album from that again with the Domino songs. Anyway, was including Harrison's On Things Must Pass. The music critic Bruce Ayer praised the album, writing the classic pieces from Leia hold up magically. Here, another guitar and piano, more than some of it accomplishment, and indeed covered with Willock's powerful singing and range. Excuse me. There's a strong case of these definite versions. Willock and Carmel married on December 24th, 2005, Christmas Eve, in Nashville, Tennessee, and moved to Austin, Texas, in 2006. The couple had worked with musicians such as David Gleason, Stephen Boyum, and Brian Temple. Special guest Willie Nelson on the album Lovers 2008. Joyous in 2010. No live recording released on the Domino's label. Lovers included a song that Willock had begun writing with Chaplin in the early 70s, Dear Veronica, a remake of Raya that Amanda Gordon composed editing, which Willock has never thought sellable to the track. Vintage 2009 compiled its only songs from the 1990s, and included appearance of a Copper Horn, Willock's solo album My Time in 2009, featuring musical combinations with Copper, Horn, Tim Drummond, and Billy Miller. Subsequent releases with Carmel included I Was Rick in 2012, and another live album, Carnival Live in Houston 2013. In 2013, it connects with the release of their what called gave an area of trade drawbacks, pods and pops from that, when she spoke of in depth about the formation of Derek and the Dominoes, composer Chaplin, and playing the Harrison's on What Things Might Pass. In 2010, by Wilcock some of that Wilcock autobiography written by musician historian Mark Marbury was published, forward by Eric Chaplin. Wilcock's first two solo appeared remastered with There's a Will, There's a Way, the ABC Downhill recordings, released by Faraday Records in September 2015. In 2015, Bobby Wilcock and Corey Garmos just us tour in 2015 visit Eastern Midwestern United States, using great guest guitarists in each city. Tour ended the performance at the Gas Music Festival in Bangladesh. He died of brief illness in his home, Texas, on August 10th, 2025. He was 37 years old. And the last step topic has to do with Sheila Gorham. Born Sheila Jonette Dawson. She was an American jazz singer and songwriter. She recorded a session musician with an array of commercially acclaimed artists. In addition to recording her old albums, Gorham prefers a bebop and jazz singing style with an upright bass as the only accomplishment. Okay. Gorham's music was earned praise from many critics, especially for her ability to improve lyrics. Scott Cano, from that, described her as one of the most commercially creative of all jazz singers. Charlie Parker's from that. Anyway, I'm going to introduce Jordan as with the lady of the $1 million ears. Be right back. I'm back, folks. Sorry about that. I just have to check how much gigabytes I have left, but I just got it now. Anyway, she was born on Detroit, Michigan on August 11, 1928. Her childhood was very difficult. Her mother was only 17 when Stella was born and struggled to raise a child, okay? Before she turned to alcohol and means of coping, Jordan was sent to live with her grandparents in a small coal-mining town of Summerhill, Pennsylvania, in the early mountains. She grew up with her 9 siblings and who were her aunts and uncles. Life with her grandparents was difficult. Mother was tight. There was little warmth or affection to her grandparents. And her grandfather was also an alcoholic. Wow. Gordon said there were possibly the poorest people in the poor town. We have an outhouse, there's no water in the house. In the winter time, all of us would sleep in one bedroom, without any sheets or pillowcase in the bed. We just had blankets. Wow. She was joined to Detroit, living with her mother in 1940-1942. She sang and played piano in jazz clubs in Detroit. She was a member of the trio Seeker, Mitch, and G. Seeker played and Troy Mitchell and Gordon. I can't say the last name. Where is it? Anyway, part of the middle name was Gene. Wow. Okay, makes sense. Who wrote the lyrics to music by Charlie Parker, who went to Parker's performance in Detroit Mayhem, and it was asked him to sing. Wow, okay. Makes sense. In 1951, Gordon moved to New York City and studied harmony and music theory with Ray Freshwell and Charles Megas and that. But he concentrated on the music of Charlie Parker. Jordan Parker became friends before his death in 1985. She referred to him as one of her teachers. Wow. From 1952 to 1952, something like that. She was married to Duke Gordon. She would play piano in Parker's band. Although his marriage was unhappy, Duke Gordon was addicted to heroin. His daughter, Tracy, whom says he probably have someone that I have truly love, and that have sure will love me back. In 2012 interview with Jazzwax, when asked when she was moved to New York, Gordon said, I guess I was chasing the bird Parker with that. When asked the song Jason the Bird was written for her, she replied, "No, I don't know how the rumor got started." In the 1960s, began with this. In early 1960s, Dorn performed at the Page Free Club, Greenwich Village, with pianist Herbie Nichols, something like that. Nichols. Okay, that was it. Okay. And there were other bars, and clubs in New York City. She withdrew to the clubs for much of the 60s to raise her daughter, okay? And sang in the church instead. For 20 years, she's working the typist and legal secretary for the time, concentrating on music until she was 58. Wow. But in 1952, she worked with George Russell, for whom she recorded the song "You Are My Sunshine." His Review, Riverdale. Later that year, she recorded the album "Portrait of Sarah," released by Blue Note. Her working relationship with Steve Collins began in the early 1960s. She also played Don Hackman, 1967, 1978, Lee Collins, 1972, and Russell Broad, 1972, 1975. Wow, okay. 1970s, 1925. 1974, Gore was the artist of residence at City College in New York and fought there from 1978 till 2005. In 2006, she represented the Manhattan Associated Carpenter Club MAC Lifetime Achievement Award. Celebrated 20 years as a Baptist professor of music. She taught at the University of Massachusetts Amherst and Vermont's Jazz Center, advanced jazz arts, as well as teaching at national workshops. On July 12, 1975, she recorded Combination. 1 year later, she released a duet album, Sheila, which with Art Anderson, something like that, with Civil Chase. In 1979, she filed a court with Steve Carr, Harvey S., and Bob Moses. During the 80s, she worked with Harvey S. as a duo and played several records with him. Until 1987, she worked with the advertising agency and recorded Lost and Found in 1989. She's also a songwriter who worked with bebop and free jazz, in addition to the African musicians. She recorded the George Schwann's concert jazz band, Carbon Bomb, Cara Bay, and Steve Fall. In the UK, she appeared with former John Backward band vocalist Frank Hall. She also made recordings for Blue Note, Black Hawk, East Wind, ECM, Grapevine, Moose, most of them, anyway, Paul Alto, and Stable Chase. In 2012, she recorded the NASA ESAA, something like that, Jazz Members Award. She wrote biography, Jazz Child, and Portrait of Sasha Jordan, written by vocalist and educator Ellen Johnson, who was published in 2014. She died on August 11, 2025, in her apartment in New York City. She was 96 years old. Now, let's get them all inside to fresh regards to not one, not two, but 11 death topics right now. Thank you. Rest in peace, 11 people. I was going to do these two other dev topics in this episode, but that has to wait till next episode of Crazy Bunch Web Show. So, that bothers me. That's coming on Sunday. That's just my advice. But anyway, my next news report is going to be Hulu to merge into Disney Plus. I was going to do it on Sunday, the 10th, but I have pushed it back to the 12th because I forgot about it. Because Billy told me, we're going to do this call on that afternoon because I was going to not do these tapings. But anyway, move on. But anyway, Hulu to merge into Disney Plus. Disney has been slowly burning the lines between Disney Plus and Hulu following the introduction of Hulu on Disney Plus in late 2023, okay? and slowly add more Hulu content to Disney Plus. Getting used to more news of having access to general entertainment content, okay? After years of speculation, Disney, oh hang on, let me just scroll down a little bit. Disney has officially confirmed that it'll be merging into Hulu to Disney Plus within the next year, 2026, making Disney Plus a more general streaming service. Remember how it would be been operating the many years internationally. This has been Hulu's app closed down by the end of next year, 2026. In the same regard, the merger with Disney CEO Bob Iger said this: "We're building Disney's value proposition and streaming by combining Hulu into Disney Plus to create an on-fly app experience featuring brand and general entertainment news, sports. There'll be one iconic entertainment destinations for subscribers." Well, I was one of the subscribers, but Iger and Johnson announced the plans for a major step forward into serving or streaming offering by slowly integrating Hulu on Disney Plus into Disney Plus. Anyway, this is creating a pervasive package of entertainment pairing the highest quality brands and franchises. Anyway, great general entertainment, friendly programming, news, and international leading by sports content in a single app. By creating a truly diverse streaming offering with wide subscribers, tremendous choice, crisp quality, and enchanting population. It was also announced that Hulu will become a global general entertainment brand. In the fall, it replaced that Star title in Disney Plus internationally. Iger Johnson added that the coming months, Disney will employ numbers environments within the Disney Plus app, including the exciting new features and more personalized homepage. After all of this work, will combine with the unify Disney Plus and Hulu streaming app experience that will be available to the consumer next. Okay, now the Hulu brand is already being introduced to Disney Plus subscribers in Canada. Well, okay, and that's already this past summer anyway. The Hulu logo began to appear on many of the new rituals being added. Now, all which will help consumers become familiar with the new brand. Now, let's scroll down, come on, there we go. Disney has been unable to make this major shift in the streaming strategy. While Comcast is still on the percentage of Hulu, just last month, Disney Plus closed the deal. Disney closed the deal, something like that. By now, the remaining Comcast stake of the streaming service allowed for Disney to marry Hulu to Disney Plus. It also ties with the other merger concerning the podcast. Something like that. We'll see Hulu Plus Live TV merged into Full TV, okay, which is expected to close within the end of the year. Which is another major reason why Disney won't fully be closing down Hulu until next year. It's part of a statement about the future of Disney's streaming business. Bob Iger said this: "We're taking major steps forward in streaming with the upcoming launch of ESPN's direct consumer service, or just announced plans with the NFL. And for our forthcoming integration of Hulu into Disney Plus, creating a truly different streaming promotions that harness the highest quality brands and franchises, general entertainment, friendly programming, news, and industry-leading sports content. Remember, this plans had in all the businesses. We're not done with building. We're excited in the company's future." Rogers Take says this on what's on Disney Plus. Says this. Come on down, thank you. It's been very clear for years Disney Plus and Hulu were heading to the merger, especially the introduction of Hulu and Disney Plus. We're slowly to get a U.S. audience to use the idea. After over 18 months of Hulu content being available within Disney Plus, most people are going to be fine with this merger. Bringing both Hulu and Disney Plus together is going to save Disney millions of dollars. That is good. Each year in many ways. Not just fewer programs, but also in terms of advertising, operating costs, and staff. It also means that Disney Plus will not be a direct competitor to Netflix and Amazon, offering everything from the Mouse House in one easy place. With addition to whole ESPN content, Disney is now going all in on Disney Plus. That is a good choice for watching. So yeah, what do you think about Hulu merging with Disney Plus? Let me know on social media. But for the latest Disney Plus news, follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and Instagram. See here on Roger Palmer on What's on Disney Plus website and other things like that. See here. That's all for that topic. Now let's move on to the last news of the day. And that is something I do not appreciate. And that is American Online ditching dial-up services. A look at the internet in the 90s and early 2000s. Now, I started my career as a technician when I was on my third birthday. And that always my humble begins. And that CD-ROM computer came with Clifford's big some activities, some of that PC game, Humongous Entertainment Games, Babe, movie storybook. That was basically it on that part. So, what's going to happen here? Well, sad to say, folks, in the hazy generations of memory, some may have recalled fondly the AOL dial-up internet service that was the surnames associated with the World Wide Web is coming to a close. Now, the company also known as You Got Mail, also known as You Got Mail, green is CD trial disc, so many CDs made announcements website. America Online evaluates its products and services, has decided to discontinue its dial-up internet. I'm sad about that, sadly, but it's too much for me, unfortunately. The service will no longer be available in AOL plans, the web provider said. Absent wireless signals in the modern day, dial-up connected to the internet is using a conventional telephone line. Amenity designates high-pitched, chirping sound in the process. AOL, now part of Yahoo, said the dial-up service along with the AOL Dialer software and AOL Shield browser will be discontinued on September 30th. Now, I'm very disappointed, so I want to read some AOL dial-up, so yeah, I'm not going to be happy. Now, why I'm so sad about that, it was Tube Disney who got me the choice of reading the emails back in the AOL days. So that was me. But anyway, America Online was famous for this pre-trail disc, which seemed to be everyone in the 1990s, when the AOL internet was gaining stream and household across the United States and beyond. It changed its name to just AOL in 2006. Verizon sold AOL to Yahoo to provide quality from Apollo Global Management for $5 billion in 2021. Now, before I end this here, folks, I'm sad that this is disappointing, but I have this one email from the Weekenders' very own Tino Talatini for the Weekenders. And it was stated in 2004 saying this. Hey Luke, Tino here. I don't remember the email's name, so it was probably that @Tomb thing, but you know, that's just me. And glad I liked the email that I sent you. It was my mom who told me this, to say the email from Tino Talatini for the Weekenders. But it was Jason Marson, years went on, told me about the Tino voice, you know. And he said, later days, and things like that. So, it wasn't for AOL, my career, and everything would have been here today. So, anyway, that was it for this episode of Crazy Bunch's Web Show, episode 118. Thank God we have to do this in 2 days, because if it wasn't that happening, I would have been doing the next episode for you guys, because I would be busy and I'll be stressed out. I'm gonna do a thing, so I'll do the next episode this upcoming Sunday, I promise you. So that will be the next episode, and that will be Billy's let's say 31st birthday episode of the Crazy Bunch Web Show. It will be dev topics and more, things like that. But we'll promise you we'll do it next week. So on Sunday, the 18th. Well, yeah, 17th. I promise you that, but we're gonna do it anyway. Till next time, so join us, my baby. More Crazy Bunch's Web Show for you guys very soon. So out. See ya.